A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a story of the death of a postman and the search for a missing letter. We call it The Seventh Letter. So now, starring Stacey Harris, here is tonight's suspense play, The Seventh Letter.
7L32, request detectives at corner Hatteras and Roblar Streets. Notify the coroner.
The place, a suburban residential area near a large city in Southern California. The time, 4:15 a.m. The body of a man had been found by a police patrol unit. The body was dressed in the blue-gray of the post office department, and a truck belonging to that department was at the curb. A letterbox nearby had been unlocked and stood open. 6 letters from that box were on the sidewalk near the body. The postman had been on a collection run. Someone had stopped him from completing that run by placing a knife in his back. 90 seconds after the police officer contacted communications, the message was relayed to a divisional detective bureau.
Why don't you tell me what's going on, Jim?
Yes.
But I've already told you.
Yeah, I've got it.
I don't believe that, Lodge.
Hatteras and Roblar. Right.
Now, come on, Lodge. Tell me, what were you doing in that alley?
I told you I couldn't sleep, so I took a walk.
In an alley at 3:30 in the morning?
I was on my way home when those officers...
Now, don't lie to me, mister. You know what you were doing behind those houses, so do I.
I wasn't doing anything.
Were the lights on in any of them?
I didn't know.
Now, come on, level with me, mister.
I am.
Lieutenant? In a minute. Lodge, how long you been married?
2 years.
Practically a newlywed, huh? How's your wife going to feel about you now?
Please. I've never been in any trouble.
Say before.
What?
Before. Say it.
Before.
Okay, now you're learning. What is it, so?
Hot one just came in. We better roll.
All right, have Johnson book this peeping Tom.
Oh, no, please. I've got a family. I've got
Get him out of
responsibilities.
Let's go, mister.
Please.
Meet you in the hall.
I was only taking a walk.
You can explain it to the court in the morning.
You don't believe me either, do you?
Doesn't matter what I believe. The lieutenant said book you. Hey, Johnson?
Yeah?
I'll pray for him.
What?
The lieutenant. I'll pray for him.
What's the charge, Saul?
Bag, prowler.
Empty your pockets, mister. Put your stuff on the counter here.
Everything?
Everything.
Saul, what do we got?
32 found a body. Lieutenant, you really think you should book that man? He wasn't on private property. No one called in a complaint.
Tomorrow morning, he'll walk out of here congratulating himself. And tomorrow night, he'll be back on his window rod.
What makes you so sure?
Saul, you ever committed a felony?
No.
You ever wanted to?
Well,
Everybody has. What stopped you?
I guess I was afraid I'd be caught.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what keeps most of them in line. The rest are too dumb to be afraid of the law, or they got a wire crossed. Figure they can outsmart it.
But nobody's completely honest, huh, Lieutenant?
Nobody, son.
Oh, come on. Now, you don't really...
Look, when you've been here a while, you won't argue with me. Where's that body?
Hatteras and Roblar.
What?
What's the matter?
I live on Hatteras, just a block from that corner.
The time, 4:43 a.m. Lieutenant Joseph Carter and Sergeant Saul Morris arrived at the suburban intersection. A few minutes later, a unit from the department's crime lab arrived, followed by a postal inspector. By checking the collection times indicated on the mailbox, the time of death was set at 2:55 a.m. The uniformed officers searched the area, but the murder weapon was not found. The time, 5:07 a.m.
You find out anything, Mac?
Yeah, Lieutenant. Lots of sound sleepers in this neighborhood.
Well, is that all?
Well, that's it. Nobody heard nothing.
Okay. Thanks. Saul?
Coming, Lieutenant.
Well, how about it? Where's his ID?
The coroner got it off his driver's license. Here.
Henry R. Gilligan, 1314 West Latham, age 52. Case of accident, notify Elizabeth Gilligan. Well, see if somebody does a hassle.
Yes, sir.
Oh, do you have anything else in his pockets?
Just the usual: keys, cigarettes, matches, some money.
How much?
$17 and some change.
Oh, Lieutenant.
Yes, Inspector?
The crime lab boys want to take those letters downtown.
No, that's your department.
Oh, it's all right. But you can't hold up the mail, you know. I'll have to have them back this afternoon.
You'll have them. How many letters did you find?
6.
Any of them have a return address on the envelope?
All but one. I made a list of the letters, who they were going to, and the 5 return addresses.
Well, I'd appreciate a copy if it isn't too much trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. I'll do it right away.
Okay to take the body in?
Yeah, they can have him.
All right, come on, you guys.
Sure doesn't look 52. Guess that's from being outside so much.
Yeah. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers.
What's that?
Something a Greek historian wrote.
Oh.
Starting to get light.
Yeah. You want a cigar?
No, thanks.
See that white picket fence down there?
Yeah, I believe I do. At your place?
Mm-hmm. A boy and I painted that fence last Sunday.
Sure seems funny. A murder in a section like this.
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, it's such a nice, quiet neighborhood.
Well, that's what we're looking for.
Hmm?
Nice, quiet killer.
After a final word with the postal inspector, the 2 detectives drove slowly through the nearby streets. Another mailbox was located 3 blocks from the intersection of Hatteras and Roblar. At 5:52 a.m., they checked back into division headquarters.
All right, Saul, let's get on that report, huh?
Right. I sure can't figure out why anybody would want to kill a postman.
No?
You got an angle?
Johnson?
Yeah, Lieutenant?
Who's the screamer?
His name's Gillis. Narcotics picked him up a few minutes ago. The doc's looking him over.
Hope they don't keep him down here all night.
They won't.
Saul.
Hmm?
Saul, suppose you'd mailed a letter down there last night. After the 8:30 pickup.
Yeah.
Long about midnight, you decided you wanted it back. What would you have done?
Well, I'd have been there at 2:55 and asked Gilligan to return it to me.
Yeah, except he wouldn't have given it back to you. Once a letter's mailed, it's against postal regulations to return it.
Mm-hmm. Well, then I'd have forgotten about it.
Would you? Or would you have killed to get it back?
Ah, now, Lieutenant. What could anybody write in a letter that'd be that important?
I don't know, so. I don't know, but somebody does.
You think that's what happened?
Well, what else could it be? 7 letters were mailed, Saul. The person that mailed the 7th was waiting there when Gilligan arrived. Saw Gilligan take the mail out of the box, and he approached him, asked him for his letter. Gilligan refused to give it to him. They argued, and one thing led to another, and the knife ended the argument. The mail was rifled, the letter found. Whoever did it went home to bed.
It sounds good.
It is good. Look, we know 6 people mailed letters in that box. We got the letters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We find the person that mailed that 7th letter. We got our killer.
By checking the city directory, they made a list of the families living in the area nearest the mailbox at Hatteras and Roblar. The list was then sent to the Records Bureau, where a make was run on every person on it between the ages of 14 and 70. After being relieved by the day watch, Carter reported to his superior and advanced his theory concerning the death of the postman. He was told to check it out. The time, 8:24 a.m.
Joe?
Yeah, Louise.
We're in the kitchen. Pop, we heard all about it on the news.
Oh, that's so?
Yeah, boy, a murder right now on Block. Are you going to catch him?
I'm going to try.
You know who did it?
Bobby, sit down and finish your breakfast.
Oh, golly.
You want to eat before you go to bed, Joe?
Not going to bed this morning.
You're not? Oh, when you going to sleep?
Tonight. I've been put on days a while.
So you can catch the murderer, huh? Boy, I hope you get it before money so I can kill all the kids at school.
Bobby, if you finish, go outside and play.
Oh, Pop.
Bobby, Jimmy's out in his backyard.
Okay, Mom. If you promise you'll look around for my scout knife.
All right, dear, I'll look.
See you later, Pop. Maybe Jimmy and me will go down to the corner and see the blood.
Here's your coffee, Joe.
Thanks.
You want anything besides the cereal, you'll have to fix it.
Oh, what's the matter?
Same old thing.
Another one of your headaches?
Mm-hmm.
Call the doctor.
Yeah, I have an appointment at 9. Margaret's taking me.
Margaret Richards?
Yeah. Joe, if you're going to take off your coat, take that gun off, too, will you? Put it somewhere.
All right. Now, what'd you do last night?
Bobby and I went over to Mrs. Gaither's for a while. She was having one of those cooking-ware parties.
What time did you get to sleep?
About 3. I was reading.
You better start getting more rest, or you'll wind up back in that sanitarium.
What do you want me to do, Joe? Just sit here every night with my hands folded? I'm tired of looking at these walls.
Okay.
You're never home except to sleep. Even when you are, you don't take me out.
All right, forget it, huh? Hand me the milk, will you? Thanks. When you get back, I got a list I want you to take a look at.
What list is that?
Suspects. You know most of them.
Well, let me see it now.
Oh, yeah.
John and Nancy Robinson, Bert and Margaret Rick. Well, Joe, these are neighbors, friends of ours.
One of them killed that postman.
Well, if you believe that, you shouldn't be on this case.
Oh, why not?
Because of Bobby and me. We live here, too, you know. You can't make a friend one day and have your husband suspect him of being a criminal the next.
One of them has done big time.
I don't believe it.
Well, ask your friend, Bert Richards.
Bert? Margaret's husband?
Mm-hmm. He did 2 years for assault.
Are you sure?
Sure, I'm sure. I ran a make on all of them.
When was he in?
4 years ago.
Well, then Margaret knows. She's never told me.
I want you to ask Margaret if Bert mailed the letter after 8:30 last night.
What if he did?
Well, we found 6 letters down at the corner. I think 7 were mailed.
I've got to go.
Will you ask her for me?
I'm coming, Margaret.
Louise?
I don't know, Joe. I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Oh, well, Louise, you don't look sick.
Well, I'm not really sick.
Oh, I'm
Pop,
I'm in here, Bobby.
Jimmy Claymore and me went down the corner. There wasn't no blood or nothing.
I know.
How do you think you're going to catch that murderer, Pop? You got a plan?
Yeah.
Boy, I sure wish I could help you.
Well, maybe you can, Bobby. If you really want to.
If I want to. Pop!
Okay. Now, you got to promise not to talk about any of this to anybody.
Well, I promise God's honor.
Okay, that's fine, Bobby.
What do you want me to do first?
Well, I got to find out a few things about our neighbors, Bob.
Like what?
Well, like Jimmy's father work nights or days?
Days. He switched over a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, why don't you ask Jimmy if his father mailed a letter late last night, huh?
A letter? Why?
Because I got to know the name of every person who was near that corner between 8:30 last night, 2:55 this morning.
Oh. In case somebody saw the killer, huh, Pop?
That's right, son.
Well, if somebody did, don't you think he'd come and tell you?
Might not. Might be afraid to.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll ask him, only...
Only what, Bobby?
Well, I already know somebody who went down to that corner late last night.
No? Who?
Mom.
Your mother? What'd you go down there for?
To mail a letter.
You are listening to The Seventh Letter, tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Wednesday night is your night for excitement with the FBI in peace and war, and tomorrow night is no exception, since the police chief is all set to use his information as the inside man to expose the bosses of a gambling ring. If you like your entertainment on the active side, don't miss the thrills when the FBI in peace and war declares war on a group of corrupt officials tomorrow night at this time. Remember, the FBI in peace and war is yours to hear every Wednesday night over most of these same stations.
And now we bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Stacey Harris, starring in tonight's production, The Seventh Letter, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
The time, 8:47 a.m. After learning that his wife had left the house late the night before to mail a letter, Carter checked the list of the 6 letters found near the postman's body. 5 of the letters held the return address. The 6th was addressed to a Mr. James Young in care of a local hotel. Carter had never heard of Mr. Young. Time, 9:57 a.m. Louise Carter and her friend Margaret Richards had left the doctor's office and entered a nearby drugstore.
Want some cream in your coffee, Margaret?
With this figure? No, thanks.
I wish I could gain a few pounds. Doctor does, too.
What'd he say? Are you all right?
Yes. He says I worry too much.
Oh, don't we all? Louise, is Joe investigating that murder?
Yes. He's working with the homicide department on it.
Well, Bert wanted me to ask you. He's got a crazy idea that he might be a suspect.
Bert? Oh, for heaven's sakes, why?
Well, Look, Louise, I never told this to another soul in our neighborhood. And if you weren't my dearest friend, I'd never...
You can trust me. You know you can.
Well, a few years ago, Bert got into a fight. When he was getting the worst of it, he picked up a bottle to defend himself. Of course, he didn't hurt anybody with it, but they arrested him just the same.
How long was he in?
Oh, just overnight. Just as soon as they knew all the circumstances, but they even apologized.
Oh. Well, if it wasn't serious.
Of course it wasn't. But try and convince Bert. See, he's afraid Joe will find out about that and, get the wrong idea.
Well, you tell Bert he hasn't a thing to worry about.
Oh, thanks, honey.
As a matter of fact, Joe's looking for someone who mailed a letter in that box last night.
A letter?
Mm-hmm. What is it?
I sent Bert down to mail a letter just after midnight.
10:15 a.m. Carter checked with the homicide men assigned to the case. Mrs. Gilligan had been unable to furnish them with any possible motive for her husband's murder. And according to her, Gilligan had had no known enemies. The autopsy report showed that the wound had been made by a pocket or switchblade knife. 10:47 a.m. Carter arrived at the crime lab. He was joined there by the postal inspector. They were informed that none of the envelopes had held a clear set of fingerprints. 11:05. They examined the letter addressed to James Young.
Certainly nothing distinctive about the envelope, is there?
No. Inspector, could you open it, please?
Oh, sure. Looks like a greeting card of some kind. I hope it's one of those funny ones. Here you are.
Happy birthday from Uncle Bert and Aunt Margaret.
Well, that isn't very original. Is it any help, Lieutenant? Lieutenant?
No, it's not very original.
Is it any help?
Oh, no.
Well, that's the way it goes. I might as well put these letters in my briefcase. I didn't know Gilligan, but some of the boys who did thought the best of him. They can't imagine why anyone would want to kill him.
No. Neither can I.
We're all hoping you catch the person who did it.
Yeah. Are you ready, Inspector?
Yes, indeed. You call us anytime. We'll always do our best to help.
There was no doubt left in his mind now. He knew who had written the seventh letter. The time, 12:01 p.m. He arrived home.
Boys?
Hi, Pop.
Oh, where's your mother? Is she back yet?
No, she'll be home soon. She called a few minutes ago.
Taking everything out of your dresser for her.
I'll put it all back.
Just don't forget.
Hey, Pop.
Yeah?
Have you seen my scout knife?
I seen your what?
My scout knife. Mom promised to help me find it, but she never did.
No, when'd you lose it?
Oh, I don't know. We have a troop meeting this afternoon. I want... Hey, is that Mom?
Bobby, if it is your mother.
Yeah, I'll ask her.
Bobby, wait, come here.
Yeah?
Now, look, I've got something important to say to your mother.
But this is important, too. Our meeting's at 1:30.
Bobby?
You want to help me catch that murderer, don't you?
Well, sure.
Then you stay here, son.
Oh, Joe, I didn't know you were home. Where's Bobby?
He's in his room.
The doctor gave me another prescription. Some pills for my nerves. And you should have heard Margaret lying about Bert. According to her, he was only in jail overnight.
You asked her about him, huh?
Yes.
She say anything about him mailing a letter last night?
Yes.
Well, did he?
She said that he did, yes.
Looks like he killed that man, doesn't it?
Does it? I won't change my dress. Did you fix Bobby any lunch?
No,
You want anything?
not now. Louise?
Hmm?
What could be written in a letter that would be worth a man's life?
Oh, really, Joe, I haven't time to play games.
This is no game.
Well, I don't know.
You lie.
Joe.
You mailed a letter last night.
No.
Don't lie to me, Louise. Bobby told me.
Bobby told you. You questioned Bobby about me? I was one of your suspects, but instead of coming to me, you questioned Bobby?
Louise, tell me about the letter.
All my life I've heard that a man had to have something wrong with him to want to be a cop, but I never believed it till now. Oh.
Now, this morning you knew what I was looking for, but you didn't open your mouth. Just now, you were going to let me believe Bert Richards killed that man, and we both know who did.
No.
You know something about it? Come on, Louise, what was in that letter?
I didn't mail any letter.
I'll get Bobby in here. I'll find out which one of you is lying.
Joe, wait. I went out to mail it. I told Bobby I was going to, but I changed my mind before I got to the corner.
Is that the truth?
Well, if it isn't, you'd beat it out of me, wouldn't you?
Where's the letter now?
It's in my purse.
Is this it?
Yes.
It's to your sister.
And I wish I'd mailed it.
Dear Belle, just a note to let you know I understand and appreciate your thoughts about Joe and me. But it's too late. Too many things have happened. I've made up my mind to leave him. You've what? Here. Come on. You finish reading it.
No, please.
Go on, read it.
For a while, just after I came out of the sanitarium, Oh, Joe.
Go on, Louise, go on.
Joe was his old self. But that lasted only a few days. It's hard for me to tell you about Joe and the way he treats me. But his only love is his job and the power that goes with it. He hasn't time for me or for Bobby. He's forgotten how to be a husband. Oh, Joe, I can't.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Are you sure? Okay. Thanks for calling. I found out who killed the postman. It's a man named Gillis, an addict. He decided to talk after being off the stuff all day. Last night he thought he was being tailed, so he dropped some stuff he was holding into the mailbox, and when he went back to get it, the postman refused to give it to him. Louise? I don't suppose there's anything I can say.
No.
You sure it's too late? I mean, there's just no chance at all? Why didn't you mail that letter last night?
Mom?
I told you, Joe, I changed my mind.
Why? Why? What was the reason?
Mom, aren't you going to help me find my knife?
Don't you know, Joe? Or have you forgotten about him, too? Come on, Bobby, dear, I'll help you. Come on.
Suspense, in which Stacey Harris starred in tonight's presentation of The Seventh Letter. Be sure to listen again next week when we bring you another presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed in Hollywood by Anthony Ellis. Tonight's story was written by Charles B. Smith. The music was composed by Lucian Morawek and directed by Wilbur Hatch. Featured in the cast were John Daner, Harley Fair, Victor Perrin, George Walsh, Vivi Janis, Richard Beals, Paula Winslow, and Jim Nusser.
The life of an insurance investigator may be dangerous, but it's thrilling, too, and you can hardly blame yours truly, Johnny Dollar, for pursuing his unusual career. Nor can anyone blame you for following Johnny Dollar as he moves around from clue to clue until every case of mayhem or fraud that he tackles is finally solved. 5 nights a week, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, will keep you in a state of high suspense as he ferrets out the chiselers, the crooks, and even the killers who think they have executed a perfect crime. Don't miss a single exciting chapter of Johnny's current case. Listen for yours truly, Johnny Dollar, every Monday through Friday night over most of these same stations. Stay tuned for 5 minutes of CBS News to be followed on most of these same stations by My Son Jeep. America listens most to the CBS Radio Network.
This is the Man in Black, here to introduce this half hour of suspense.
Now, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I got off the train in Toledo and walked through the station to the street. I passed up the waiting taxi and swung aboard a bus. Taxi drivers would likely to remember you, and I couldn't take a chance on that. I hadn't paid any attention to the bus. I didn't know what the line was or where it was going. It didn't make any difference. I didn't know Toledo very well anyway. I watched out the window, and when I came to a likely neighborhood, I got off. Strange, unfamiliar quarter of the city, and yet familiar because every city has neighborhoods like it. Drab, tasteless houses looking almost alike. And then most of them drab men and women anxious to make $1 by renting a room.
Now, this here is a nice room. It's the best one I got. The windows on the side. There's a nice soft bed.
Well, I'll take it.
How long you figure I'm staying?
Oh, just overnight. I'll pay you now.
Oh, well, that's $2, please.
Yeah. Oh.
What's the matter, mister? Are you sick?
Yes, I'm very sick. So the doctor near here?
Hey, you are sick.
Yeah, I think I'll go to bed. That doctor.
Oh, yeah. There's Dr. Martin just around the corner. He's young, but he's good.
Well, would you call him for me, please? Ask him to come right up. Oh.
Yeah, sure. Right away.
Come in.
I'm Dr. Martin. You're Mr.
My name is Wentworth, Doctor. James Wentworth.
Oh, yes.
I just got into town. I'm afraid I'm in for my old trouble again.
Oh, what's that, Mr. Wentworth?
Trigeminal neuralgia.
Ah.
I've had bad attacks before.
Just where is the pain?
Yeah. And here.
Oh, yes. Now, if you...
No, don't touch it. It's like a red-hot iron, even the draft of air.
I know. Really, you should have that nerve operated.
Yes, I'm going to have it down when I get home.
Oh, and where's that?
Cleveland.
Cleveland. I know a lot of men there. Who's your doctor?
Dr. Fletcher.
Lawrence Fletcher.
No, Andrew. Andrew R. Fletcher.
I don't recall him.
But he's waiting to clear up a heart condition before he operates.
Oh, yes, very sound. Now, how did this attack come on?
Oh, the way they always do. I was shaving, and I touched the nerve with the razor.
Oh, yes, the trigger point. It's very typical.
Now, that doesn't help me when that nerve starts jumping.
When will you be back in Cleveland?
About 3 days.
I'll give you a prescription. This is morphine, quarter grain. You've taken it before?
Yes, that's the only thing that gives me any relief.
Well, then I don't have to tell you about it. I'll drop this off at the drugstore and have them send it up.
Well, thank you, Doctor. Tell him to hurry.
And I'd better give you a shot right now.
Huh? You know, Doctor, I think the pain isn't so bad now. I don't like to take more than I have to.
Oh, well, if you're sure you can get along.
Well, yes, I can make out all right. I'll hold the tablets until later. I paid Dr. Martin, young Dr. Martin of Toledo, and he left. I waited for the package to arrive from the drugstore. Then I stayed the night so the landlady wouldn't think it was peculiar. In the morning, I got on the train and went back to Cleveland, to the hospital with the little white tablets in my pocket. The little white tablets with which I would kill Louise. It had been so simple to deceive the young, impressionable doctor. So simple to counterfeit the symptoms that I'd seen Louise react to for 4 years now. It would keep her in bed for 4 years more. Great. For 20. And I'd live with the tic douloureux, a painful nerve so long. Too long indeed. Dr. Van Tuer had to come every day now. The nurse had to be on hand day and night to combat Louise's attacks, to quiet the raging nerve with morphine. Yes, but not for long. In my pocket were the little white tablets that would bring her peace. I went into the hospital kitchen.
Oh, hello, Mr.
Oh, hello, Nellie. I'd like to bring Mr. Baker a milk.
Of course. I just give it a touch of the fire to take the chill out. I've missed you. Been away, I hear, Mr. Baker.
Yes, I had to go out of town.
And you asked me if it's a good thing. For you, I mean. You needed a change. The hospital day after day was telling on you.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yes, it was. I could see. You're a good man, Mr. Baker. Believe me, it's like a stage you're bearing your troubles. Not like some others I could mention.
Well, isn't the milk ready, Nellie?
It is. There we are. Spoonful of sugar. Just the way Mrs. Baker likes it.
Well, thank you, Nellie.
And give Mrs. Baker my regards.
Yes, I'll do that, Nellie. Now, it was just a matter of stepping into an alcove on the way to Louise's room, dropping the white tablets into the warm milk. Sugar would mask the bitter taste. Oh, here. An ideal spot.
Mr. Baker.
Huh? Oh, nurse.
Did I startle you? I didn't mean to.
No, of course not.
Oh, bringing Mrs. Baker a milk, I see. Well, I'm going up there myself. May I keep you company?
Yes, of course. Nurse White walked beside me to Louise's room. The chance that the night was gone. Another night of pain for Louise. I felt a sudden anger at the nurse. And a moment later, I realized how unreasonable it was. It was hard to be angry with anyone so curt, so alive, so beautiful. Even in her severe uniform, she managed to remain feminine, provocative. There was always a flower at her shoulder. Today, it was a sprig of flowering dogwood, and her quiet, unprofessional perfume was an exciting tingle in my nostrils. And then, we were in front of Louise's door.
Hello, Mrs. Baker. Look what I brought you.
Albert, dear.
Hello, darling.
Oh, I'm so glad you're back, darling. I missed you.
I missed you, too. Here's your milk.
You never forget, do you, Albert?
How was your day?
Just fine. Wasn't it, Miss White?
Oh, yes, Mrs. Baker. A very good day, all things considered.
Well, I'm glad. I brought you something else, Louise.
Oh, the locket. Oh, thank you, Albert, for remembering. Look, nurse, isn't it beautiful?
Oh, it is. It's an old piece, isn't it?
It belonged to my mother.
I had to hunt all over the house for it. Whatever gave you the sudden notion you wanted it anyway?
I don't know. I've had a feeling I'll be joining Mother soon.
Oh, Louise, please don't talk that way.
Now, Mrs. Baker, you're going to be up on your feet before you know it. And that's almost enough talking tonight, Mr. Baker.
No.
Mrs. Baker, do you want me to leave a tablet for you?
Yes, thank you, dear.
Here you are. I hope you don't need to take it. Well, good night.
Good night, Miss White. The tablet. You've been taking it every night?
Well, I try not to. But lately, the pain.
Yes, I know.
Oh, Albert, dear, you deserve something better than this.
Please, dear.
Now, your nose to the grindstone to pay for the doctors and nurses.
Oh, don't worry.
A little handball at the club, and then this room.
Yes, but you're going to get better, dear. You must believe the doctor.
That's what Pauline says.
Pauline?
The nurse.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, is she looking out for you all right?
She's a dear. She's very pretty, don't you think?
Pretty? Yes, I suppose so. I hadn't noticed.
I used to be pretty. You used to embarrass me sometimes, the way you looked at me.
But you're still beautiful, Louise. You'll always be.
I'm sorry, dear. I won't talk like that again. You'd better go now, Albert. I'll try to sleep.
Yes. Well, good night, dear. I'll see you tomorrow.
Mr. Baker.
Oh. Miss White. I thought you'd gone.
I wanted to talk to you, Mr. Baker.
Yes?
It's about Mrs. Baker. She worries me. Her mental state is very low. You heard how she talked about her mother, the locket.
Yes, I heard.
She needs something, I don't know what, to snap her out of this mood. I just thought I'd mention it to you.
Yes, thanks. Oh, where are you going?
To put the morphine away.
You know, I don't see why Dr. Van Tour doesn't give her more of that stuff. She needs it. Yet you ration it out as though it were poison.
Well, it is poison, Mr. Baker. That's why I'm particularly careful about Mrs. Baker.
But you don't think she'd actually...
Oh, well, usually the ones who talk about it don't do it, Mr. Baker, so I wouldn't worry. Good night.
Wait a minute.
Yes?
This wife. Pauline, isn't it?
Why, yes, I didn't think you knew.
Well, would you mind, when we were alone, if I called you Pauline?
Well, I'd like it.
Thanks, well... You know, this is an awful thing to ask, but... Well, you know, it's been pretty lonely for me.
Oh, yes, I know. That is, I can guess.
Well, would you let me take you to dinner this evening?
Why, thank you, Mr. Baker. I'd love it. I'm off duty at 8.
Well, I'll pick you up then. And, Pauline.
Yes, Mr. Baker.
My name is Albert.
At 8, then. Albert.
My heart sang. She was perfect. Everything was perfect. I had my poison. I had my witnesses. Louise had said just the right things in their presence, talking about her locket, making her fail instant suicide. How beautifully everything fell into place. I started toward the lobby door when I heard my name.
Oh, Baker! I say, Baker.
Oh, Dr. Van Tour. How are you?
Fine. Say, I want you to meet someone. This is Dr. Martin of Toledo.
I looked at him, at the man who stepped forward to shake hands with me, and my mouth went dry. This was Dr. Martin of Toledo who had given me my murder prescription. The eager, bumptious young man who stood there now looking straight into my eyes and saying...
Hello. How's that bad nerve of yours?
I was caught flat-footed. I couldn't answer. Couldn't even turn and hide. Dr. Martin stared at me a minute, unbelievingly, and his jaw hardened. After a long time, he put out his hand. Because there was nothing else to do, I took it.
Oh, this is Mr. Baker, Doctor. It's his wife who has this trigeminal condition.
His wife, eh?
Well, yes, of course. You didn't think I meant Mr. Baker, did you? He's as strong as an ox.
Yes, I can see that now.
I ran into Dr. Martin in the doctor's lounge, Baker. He was telling me about a case he just saw in Toledo. Was Toledo, wasn't it, Martin? Symptoms were remarkably similar to Mrs. Baker's. Remarkably. I thought he might like to look in on Mrs. Baker. You don't mind?
She's sleeping, I think.
Oh, it's too bad. Well, another time, perhaps, eh, Doctor?
Oh, yes, certainly, Doctor.
Well, I've got to run. Glad I ran into you, Martin. Have lunch sometime, eh?
Yes, glad to.
I'll see you later, Baker.
Yeah, sure, Doctor, sure.
I'll have to be going myself now, Mr. Baker.
Wait, Doctor. I want to talk to you.
Don't see that there's anything to talk about.
Yes, but there is. I want you to know that what happened in Toledo yesterday...
You don't have to explain, I understand.
You understand? you didn't say anything to Dr. Ventura.
Well, why should I? It's none of my business.
None of your business?
Of course. I admit I didn't have you tagged as an addict.
Addict?
Yes. You don't look like one, and that trick of refusing an immediate shot, well, I've got to hand it to you. You fooled me completely. And using your wife's symptoms. Very clever. I don't doubt you can get a supply whenever you need it with that routine.
No. I assure you.
Please, don't bother to lie to me. I guess I ought to thank you for teaching me that trick. It won't work again on this baby, believe me. And now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Baker, or Mr. Wentworth, I'm heading for a spot of handball.
Oh, wait.
Yes?
No hard feelings?
No, of course not.
Look, Doctor, if you really mean that about no hard feelings, and if you haven't got a partner, well, I play a pretty good game.
That's what I call a switch, anyway. All right, hop in.
An addict. He took me for an addict, working on any dodge I could to get a supply of dope. Yes, but later, when he heard of Louise's death, he remembered. I had no idea what I was going to do. I only knew that I couldn't let him go. He drove me over to the athletic club. He wasn't a member, but he held a courtesy card from the Toledo club, and he signed me in as his guest, laughing as James Wentworth. He was a fast man on the court, younger, too. I'd have had a hard time keeping up with him in any circumstances, but as it was, he beat me easily. I could think of only one thing. He was dangerous. Dangerous, and I had to get rid of him somehow.
It's a nice backhand you've got there, Baker. Wish I could handle those tough ones half as well.
Never mind the compliments, Doctor. Just remember the final score to be satisfied.
Hey, how about a sweat out? They've got a good steam room here.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Here, this way then. Oh, take your towel.
Boy, this is hot.
Sit on your towel.
Yeah, good idea.
That was lucky for me you came along. Place is dead today, now the soul is.
But I enjoyed it. Hot, isn't it?
Say, Baker, you know, I misjudged you.
Sorry. Oh, that's all right. Forget it.
You know, you really could do something for your trouble.
Yes?
We've got a sanitarium in Toledo that has been having pretty good luck with addiction lately.
I scarcely heard him. I only realized that we were alone, clouded in steam, not even visible to any casually curious person looking through the glass flare in the door. This was my chance. I'd never get another like it.
Take nerve, of
I picked up my towel.
What are you doing, then?
I'm sorry, Martin, but there's no other way. Whipped my towel over his head and got behind Blair. Blading arms couldn't reach me. I didn't want to leave any marks on it. With my free hand, I covered his mouth and pinched his nostril shut through the towel. He fought hard. But in a few minutes, he hung limp in my arms. And after a few minutes more, I knew he was dead. I left him there, hidden in the steam. In the locker room, I dressed quickly, parted my hair on the wrong side, and plastered it down in a way I'd never normally wear it. The man at the reception desk barely glanced at me as I passed him. Later, when they found Martin, they'd look for a man named Wentworth. They'd never find him because he didn't exist. It wasn't even that close. The papers reporting Martin's death put the cause down to heart failure brought on by the shock of exercise in the steam room. They didn't mention a companion. It wasn't important. And I waited anyway. A week. Waited and watched carefully. Because now not only Louise's future was at stake, but my own and Pauline's.
There's the nurse's quarters, darling. Better not come any nearer.
Oh, Pauline, dearest.
I know, darling, I know. Oh, you must let go now. I'm late already.
No.
Albert.
No, yes, dear.
I'm leaving the hospital. I'm taking a job in Chicago.
You know what?
Yes. This is hopeless. I can't stand it. Taking care of your wife, smiling at her, seeing the two of you together.
But you can't do it. I couldn't live without you. Now that I found you...
What do you think this is going to do to me?
Well, I can't. When are you going?
I'm giving notice tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Oh, my darling. Goodbye.
Pauline! She was gone. She said goodbye. So I knew what she meant. When I saw her again, it would be in the hospital across Louise's bed. She'd be Miss White and I'd be Mr. Baker. No, I couldn't stand that now. Yes, but there was one sure way to hold her. The little white tablets were still in my pocket. Louise?
Albert, dear.
I brought you your milk.
Oh, thank you, dear. Hold this, will you, please?
What's that? Oh, your locket.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Who shall I leave it to, I wonder? Miss White. She's a sweet girl.
Oh, Louise, now don't talk that way. Louise, you're not going
I'd like her to have it. I'll take the milk now, Albert.
She drank it. I had to clench my jaws to keep from crying out. She smiled and held out the empty glass to me. And it was over. I went home and talked sleeplessly, waiting for the inevitable. Hello? Yes? Yes? No, I'll be right over. Dr. Van Tour was outside Louise's room, and a white-faced Pauline and Nellie from the kitchen, so I hurried up the corridor.
Oh, Baker.
Oh, Doctor, can I go in?
No. Baker, your wife is dead.
What? Dead? Oh, but I don't understand. I thought she was improving, that you planned to operate.
She died of an overdose of morphine.
Oh, Mr. Baker, I'm terribly sorry.
I am too, Mr. Baker.
Yes, but how could she get it?
That's what I intend to find out. She took it in this glass of milk. There are traces left. Nellie here says you brought it up to her.
I didn't want to.
No, that's all right, Nellie. Well, of course I took it up. I did every night. Everybody in the hospital knows that.
Yes, I knew it also. Was anybody in the room when you brought it?
No. Just Louise.
And you saw her drink the milk?
No, Doctor. She didn't drink it then, not until after I'd gone. She did that frequently.
But that's right, Doctor.
Yes, I know that, too. Only last night, before she drank it, she managed to dissolve in it a lethal dose of morphine. I've checked the hospital supply. Every tablet is accounted for. We keep a very strict count, you know.
Yes, I know that.
Have you anything to say, Baker?
Well, I hardly know. I'm stunned.
Doctor, what do you mean? Surely you're not accusing Mr. Baker.
I'm not accusing anyone. That will be up to the police.
Now, wait a minute, Doctor. You're making a mistake.
It seems perfectly clear.
Yes, but I didn't kill her.
Oh, no? Then how did she die?
Well, she took her own life. She'd hinted more than once. Miss White, you remember?
Yes, Doctor. I spoke to Mr. Baker about it myself. You know she was very depressed.
That's true, nurse, but the morphine, it must have come from the outside, or we'd have missed it.
No, wait a minute. The tablet you left for her each night.
Yes, I ordered that.
But what if instead of taking it, she saved it?
Oh,
But she must have. It's the only way it could have happened.
Well, that's it, Doctor. It must be. For the past week, she's been exhausted and drawn in the morning, yet the tablets were always gone.
Well, if that's the case, nurse, how does it happen that you failed to find them? She couldn't leave her bed. You bathed her and changed the linen every day.
The locket.
The locket?
Yes, of course. You remember Miss White? She made such a point of asking me to bring it to her. And then the way she talked about joining her mother.
Yes, I do. I do remember.
She wanted you to have the locket, Pauline. It was her last wish. Now, where is it?
I have it here. It's clutched in her hand. Let's... Police headquarters, please.
Do you have to notify them?
Yes, I do. Police headquarters? Give me homicide.
Homicide?
Yes, I'll wait. Are you out of your mind? I just got through explaining everything.
Yes, you explained everything, including what still puzzled me. You see, Baker, you were right about this locket. Your wife did have a reason for wanting it. Look, I'll open it. You see? It's full. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quarter-grain morphine tablets that she saved at the cost of 7 nights of agony. And she would have taken them last night. Only you beat her to it.
And so closes tonight's tale of Suspense.
Good evening, worshippers of Halloween, admirers of the ghostly and the ghastly. Welcome to my chamber of horrors. And let me tell you a terrible tale of terror. My wife will be so pleased you've come. I'm sure she'll want to serve you for dinner. Here by the coffin, won't you? But leave your coat on. I'm going to tell some chilling stories tonight. Bone-chilling on this Halloween. That's right. Bundle up tight. It would really be a pity if you caught a cold, because then you might leave here coughing. Or should I say, in a coffin. Now, friend, turn your lights down low. If you have the nerve. In fact, turn them out. I dare. And listen to a classic tale of terror. The Waxwork. No actors other than Mr. William Conrad. Oh, yes, originally there were 15, but 14 died in rehearsal. Leaving only Mr. Conrad to carry on. So here he is, in the Waxwork.
While the uniformed attendants of Mariner's Waxworks were ushering the last stragglers through the great glass-paneled double doors, the manager sat in his office interviewing Raymond Houston. The manager was speaking.
Oh, there's nothing new in your request, sir. In fact, we refuse it to different people, mostly young bloods who've tried to make bets about 3 times a week, I should say. We have nothing to gain and something to lose by letting people spend the night in our murderer's den. If I allowed it and some young idiot lost his senses, what would be my position, eh? But your being a journalist somewhat alters the case.
Houston smiled. I suppose you mean that journalists have no senses to lose.
No, of course not. But one imagines them to be responsible people. Besides, we have something to gain here. Publicity and advertisement.
Yes, exactly, said Houston. And there I thought we might come to terms. The manager smiled.
Yes, I know what's coming. You want to be paid twice, do you? You know, it used to be said years ago that Madame Tussaud would give a man £100 for sleeping alone in the Chamber of Horrors. Well, I hope you don't think that we've made any such offer. What is your paper, Mr. Houston?
Well, I'm freelancing at present, sir, working on space for several papers. However, I would find no difficulty in getting the story printed. I'm sure the Morning Echo would use it like a shot. A night with Mariner's murderers. No live paper could turn it down, sir.
Yes. How do you propose to treat it?
Well, I shall make it gruesome, of course. Gruesome with just a saving touch of humor. The manager nodded and offered Houston his cigarette case. Very well, Mr. Houston. You'll get your story printed in the Morning Echo, and there'll be a £5 note waiting for you when you can't come and call for it. But, first of all, you realize it's no small ordeal that you're proposing to undertake. I'd like to be quite sure about you. I'd like you to be quite sure about yourself. I own I shouldn't care to take it on. I should hate having to sleep down there, alone, among them. Why? Asked Houston. Oh, I don't know. Isn't any reason, I suppose. I don't believe in ghosts. If I did, I should expect them to haunt the scene of their crimes or the spots where their bodies were laid, instead of a cellar which happens to contain their waxwork images. Well, it's just that I couldn't sit alone among them all night without seeming to stare at me in the way they do. After all, they represent the lowest and the most appalling types of humanity. Well, the whole atmosphere of the place is unpleasant. And if you're susceptible to atmosphere, sir, I warn you that you're in for a very uncomfortable night. Houston had known that from the moment when the idea first occurred to him. His soul sickened at the prospect. But he had a wife and a family to keep. So here was a chance not to be missed. The price of a special story in the Morning Echo with a £5 note to add to it. Besides, if he wrote the story well, it might lead to an offer of regular employment. The manager smiled at him and rose. Well, I think the last of the people must have gone by now. There is one condition I'm afraid I must impose upon you, sir. I must ask you not to smoke. We had a fire scare down on the murderer's den this evening. I don't know who gave the alarm, but whoever it was a false one. Fortunately, there were very few people down there at the time, or there might have been a panic. Now, if you're ready, we'll make a move. He led the way through an open barrier and down ill-lit stone stairs, which conveyed a sinister impression of giving access to a dungeon. In a passage at the bottom were a few preliminary horrors, such as relics of the Inquisition, a rack taken from a medieval castle, branding irons, thumb screws, and other mementos of man's cruelty to man. Beyond the passage was the murderer's den. It was a room of irregular shape, with a vaulted roof and dimly lit by electric light, burning behind inverted bowls of frosted glass. It was, by design, an eerie and uncomfortable chamber, a chamber whose atmosphere invited its visitors to speak in whispers. The waxwork murderers stood on low pedestals with numbered tickets at their feet. Recent notorieties rubbed dusty shoulders with the old favorites. Fertel, the murderer of Weir, stood as if frozen in the act of making a shop window gesture to young Bywaters. And there was Lefroy, the poor half-baked little snob who killed for gain so that he might ape the gentleman. Within 5 yards of him sat Mrs. Thompson, that erotic romanticist hanged to propitiate British middle-class matronhood. Charles Peace, the only member of the vile company who looked uncompromisingly and entirely evil, sneered across the gangway at Norman Thorne. Brown and Kennedy, the two most recent additions, stood between Mrs. Dyer and Patrick Mayon. The manager, walking around with Houston, pointed out several of the more interesting of these unholy notabilities. That's Crippen. I expect you recognize him, insignificant little beast who looks as if he couldn't tread on a worm. Oh, and that's Armstrong. But looks like a decent, harmless country gentleman, doesn't he? And there's old Vaquier. You can't miss him, of course, because of his beard. And this one... Who's that? Houston asked in a whisper. Here, come here, have a good look at him. This is our star turn. He's the only one of the bunch that hasn't been hanged. The figure which Houston had indicated was that of a small, slight man, not much more than 5 feet in height. It wore little waxed mustaches, large spectacles, and a gauge coat. There was something so exaggeratedly French in its appearance that it reminded Hewson of a stage caricature. He could not have said precisely why the mild-looking face seemed to him so repellent, but he'd already recoiled a step, and even the manager's company had cost him an effort to look again. "But who is he asked. "That," said the manager, "is Dr. Baudet." Hewson shook his head doubtfully. I think I've heard the name, but I forget in connection with what." The manager smiled.
You'd remember better if you were a Frenchman. You know, for some long while, that man was the terror of Paris. He carried on his work of healing by day and of throat cutting by night. He killed for the sheer devilish pleasure it gave him to kill, and always in the same way, with a razor. After his last crime, he left a clue behind him which set the police upon his track. But he was much too clever for them. When he realized that the coils were closing up about him, he mysteriously disappeared. And ever since, the police of every civilized country have been looking for him. There's no doubt that he managed to make away with himself, and by some means which has prevented his body coming to light. 1 or 2 crimes of a similar nature have taken place since his disappearance, but he is believed almost for certain to be dead, and the experts believe these recrudescences to be the work of an imitator. It's queer, isn't it, Miss Hewson? How every notorious murderer has imitators. Hewson shuddered and fidgeted with his feet. I don't like him at all. What eyes he's got. Yes, this figure's a little masterpiece. Do you find the eyes bite into you, huh? Well, that's excellent realism, then, for Baudet practiced mesmerism, and was supposed to mesmerize his victims before dispatching them. Indeed, had he not done so, it's impossible to see how so small a man could have done his ghastly work. There were never any signs of a struggle. I thought I saw him move, said Hewson with a catch in his voice. The manager smiled. You'll have more than one optical illusion before the night's out, I expect, sir. Well, I'm sorry I can't give you any more light because all the lights are on. For obvious reasons, we keep this place as gloomy as possible, huh? Well, Mr. Hewson, good night. Wheeled a swivel chair, a heavy one upholstered in plush, a little weight on the central gangway, and deliberately turned it so that its back was toward the effigy of Dr. Baudet. For some undefined reason, he liked Dr. Baudet a great deal less than his companions. Busying himself with arranging the chair, he was almost lighthearted. But when the manager's footfalls had died away, and a deep hush stole over the chamber, he realized that he had no slight ordeal before him. Among the many figures standing in stiff, unnatural poses, the effigy of the dreadful little doctor stood out with a queer prominence, perhaps because of a steady beam of light beat straight down upon it. Hewson flinched before the parody of mildness which some fiendishly skilled craftsman had managed to convey in wax, met the eyes for one agonized second, and then turned again to face the other direction. He's only a waxwork like the rest of you, Hewson muttered defiantly. You're all only waxworks. They were only waxworks, yes. But waxworks don't move. Oh, not that he had seen the least movement anywhere, but it struck him that in the moment or two while he'd looked behind him, there had been the least subtle change in the grouping of the figures in front. Crippen, for instance, seemed to have turned at least 1 degree to the left. Or, thought Hewson, perhaps the illusion was due to the fact that he had not slewed his chair back into its exact original position. Oh, but there were
Brown and Kennedy, too. Surely one of them had moved his hands. Houston held his breath for a moment and then drew his courage back to him as a man lifts a weight. He took a notebook from his pocket and wrote quickly, memo, deathly silence and unearthly stillness of figures. Like being at bottom of sea. Hypnotic eyes, Dr. Baudet. Figures seem to move when not being watched. He closed the book suddenly over his fingers and looked around quickly and awfully over his right shoulder. He had neither seen nor heard a movement, but it was as if some sixth sense had made him aware of one. He looked straight into the vapid countenance of Lefroy, which smiled vacantly back as if to say, it wasn't I. No, of course, it wasn't he, or any of them. It was his own nerves. Or was it? Then why all that silent unrest about him? A subtle something in the air which did not quite break the silence and happened, whichever way he looked, just beyond the boundaries of his vision. He swung round quickly to encounter the mild but baleful stare of Dr. Baudet, and then without warning, he jerked his head back to stare straight at Crippen. He'd nearly caught Crippen that time. You'd better be careful, Crippen, and all the rest of you. If I do see one of you move, I'll smash you to pieces. Do you hear? He ought to go, he told himself. Already he'd experienced enough to write a story, or 10 stories for the matter of that. Well, then, why not go? The Morning Echo would be none the wiser as to how long he'd stayed. Nor would it care so long as his story was a good one. Yes, but the manager. One never knew. Perhaps the manager would quibble over that 5-pound note which he needed so badly. He wondered if his wife were asleep, or if she were lying awake and thinking of him. That she'd laugh when he told her that he'd imagined. This was a little too much. It was bad enough that the waxwork effigies of murderers should move when they weren't being watched, but it was intolerable that they should breathe. Somebody was breathing. Or was it his own breath which sounded to him as if it came from a distance? He sat rigid, listening, straining, until he exhaled with a long sigh. His own breath, after all. Or, if not, something had divined that he was listening and had ceased breathing simultaneously. Houston turned his head swiftly around and looked all about him out of haggard and hunted eyes. Everywhere his gaze encountered the vacant waxen faces, and everywhere he felt that by just some least fraction of a second he had missed seeing a movement of hand or foot, a silent opening, a compression of lips, a flicker of eyelids, a look of human intelligence now smoothed out. They were like naughty children in a classroom, whispering, fidgeting, and laughing behind their teacher's back, but blandly innocent when his gaze was turned upon them. No, this would not do. This distinctly would not do. He must clutch at something, grip with his mind upon something which belonged essentially to the workaday world, to the daylight London streets. He was Raymond Houston, an unsuccessful journalist, a living and breathing man, and these figures grouped around him were only dummies, so they could neither move nor whisper. Well, what did it matter if they were supposed to be lifelike effigies of murderers? They were only made of wax and sawdust and stood there for the entertainment of morbid sightseers and orange-sucking trippers. Oh, that was better. Now, what was that funny story which somebody had told him in the False Step Club yesterday? Oh, yes.
of it, but not all. For the gaze of Dr. Baudet urged, challenged, and finally compelled him to turn. Houston half turned, and then swung his chair so as to bring him face to face with the wearer of those dreadful hypnotic eyes. His own eyes were dilated, and his mouth at first set in a grin of terror, lifted at the corners in a snarl, and then Houston spoke and woke 100 sinister echoes. You moved! Yes, you did, you moved! I saw you! You moved! Then he sat quite still, staring straight before him, like a man found frozen in the Arctic snows. Dr. Baudet's movements were leisurely. He stepped off his pedestal with the mincing care of a lady alighting from a bus. The platform stood about 2 feet from the ground. Above the edge of it, a plush-covered rope hung in arc-like curves. Dr. Baudet lifted up the rope until it formed an arch for him to pass under, stepped off the platform, and sat down on the edge, facing Houston. Then he nodded and smiled and said, "Good evening. I need hardly tell you that not until I overheard the conversation between you and the worthy manager of this establishment did I suspect that I should have the pleasure of a companion here for the night. You cannot move or speak without my bidding, but you can hear me perfectly well. Something tells me that you are, shall I say, nervous? My dear sir, I have no illusions. I am not one of these contemptible effigies miraculously come to life. I am Dr. Baudet himself." He paused, coughed, and shifted his legs. Pardon me, but I am a little stiff. Please, let me explain. Circumstances with which I need not fatigue you have made it desirable that I should live in England. I was close to this building this evening when I saw a policeman. Regarding me, I thought a little too curiously. I guessed that he intended to follow and perhaps ask me embarrassing questions, so I mingled with the crowd and came in here. A coin bought my admission to the chamber in which we now meet, and an inspiration showed me a certain means of escape. I raised a cry of fire, and when all the fools had rushed to the stairs, I stripped my effigy of the caped coat which you behold me wearing, donned it, hid my effigy under the platform at the back, and took its place on the pedestal. The manager's description of me, which I had the embarrassment of being compelled to overhear, was biased, but not altogether inaccurate. Clearly, I am not dead, although it is as well that the world thinks otherwise, no? His account of my hobby, which I have indulged for years, although to necessity less frequently of late, was in the main too. For you see, the world is divided between collectors and non-collectors. With the non-collectors, we are not concerned, eh? The collectors collect anything according to their individual taste, from money to cigarette cards, from malls to matchboxes. I collect throats. He paused again and regarded Houston's throat with interest, mingled with disfavor. I am obliged for the chance which brought us together tonight, and perhaps it would seem ungrateful to complain. From motives of personal safety, my activities have been somewhat curtailed of late years, and I am glad of this opportunity of gratifying my somewhat unusual whim. But you, sir, you have such a skinny neck. If you will overlook a personal remark, I should never have selected you from choice. I like men with thick necks. Thick, red necks. He fumbled in an inside pocket and took out something which he tested against a wet forefinger, and then proceeded to pass gently to and fro across the palm of his left hand. This is a little French razor. The blade, you will observe, is very narrow. They do not cut very deep, but deep enough. In just one little moment, you shall see for yourself. Now, I shall ask you the little civil question of all the polite barbers. Does the razor suit you, sir? He rose up, a diminutive but menacing figure of evil, and approached Houston with a silent, furtive step of a hunting panther. You will have the goodness to raise your chin a little, eh? Thank you. And a little more, just a little more. Thank you. Merci, monsieur. Merci, merci. The chamber was a big skylight of frosted glass, which by day let in a few sickly and filtered rays from the floor above. After sunrise, these began to mingle with the subdued light from the electric bulbs, and this mingled illumination added a certain ghastliness to a scene which needed no additional touch of horror. The waxwork figures stood apathetically in their places, waiting to be admired or execrated by the crowds who would presently wander fearfully among them. In their midst, in the center gangway, Houston sat still, leaning far back in his swivel chair. His chin was up-tilted as if he were waiting to receive attention from a barber. And although there was not a scratch upon his throat, nor anywhere upon his body, he was cold and dead. Dr. Baudet, on his pedestal, watched the dead man unemotionally. He did not move, nor was he capable of motion. But then, after all, he was only a waxwork.
Friend, I do hope that you savor our gruesome little tale of terror and tallow called the Waxwork. I just wonder if you have the nerve to listen with your lights turned off. If you did, it's time to turn them on again. Go ahead. Just don't sit there. Get up. Well, what do you know? Stone dead.
And now it's time to close the squeaking door until next Tuesday. So, good night. Pleasant dreams.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a story based on fact. A man's last hours in a death cell awaiting execution. We call it The Phones Die First. So now, starring Harry Bartell, here is tonight's suspense play, The Phones Die First.
Bradley speaking. Oh, yes, Warden. Brunner with him? But it's almost 4. Well, Brunner's due downstairs, you understand? All right, if you say so, sir. I'll call the roll right away.
Sarge? Sarge?
Yeah, Brunner.
How about these law books? I got a lot of them here.
You can give them to the library if you want, or the fellows here. Whatever you want to do.
How about the guys, huh?
Fine with me.
Well, that's about everything. Except my personal stuff. Do I have time, Sergeant?
It's not quite 4 yet. Oh, excuse me, Bruner.
Sure.
Rowe. Yes, sir. He's about ready. Oh, Captain, are you coming over to go with Bruner? Or shall we? Oh, fine. Yeah, he's all right. Yeah, we'll do. Bye. Bill.
Yes, Sarge?
The captain's on his way up for Bruner. You and Doug take the gun rail, just in case, you know.
Right, Sarge. You know something?
What?
I'll be glad when the cap takes me off this tour. Each time one of them poor devils takes the big walk, I do too.
You'll get used to it. They do.
Oh, boys.
Afternoon, Captain.
We got a problem.
Oh?
Warden called me. Bruner's got a specially approved visit. His sister.
You going to take him downstairs first?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll take him over to my office to visit with him, and then downstairs from there. Hello, Frank.
Oh, Cam.
How's it going?
Okay, I guess.
It's just about 4, Frank.
Yeah.
But first, you got a visit.
Me? Who?
Your sister.
Oh, I thought maybe it was my lawyer with some news.
Well, if there is any, Frank, we'll hear. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, Cap, I won't worry.
Sergeant tells me you want to say goodbye to some of the fellas up here. Well, that's okay with me if you do, but not too long, huh?
When am I seeing my sister?
As soon as we leave here, in my office.
We aren't coming back here, huh?
No, Frank.
Downstairs?
Unlock Bruner, will you?
Yes, sir.
I'll wait for you at the elevator gate, Frank.
Thanks, Cap.
You got everything, Bruner?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Frank. Over here.
Don't worry, I hadn't forgotten you, Whitey. I'll take care of your pictures for you if you want. Well, thanks, but I already gave them to the sergeant here. He's going to send them home. Oh. But I tell you what you can do. You can take his dictionary of mine. Maybe it'll do you some good. What do I want with a book? Has a lot of big words in it. Where we're going... Sure, Frank, I'd like it. Thanks. Dream the big dream for me, will you? So long, White. So long, Frank. Hey, Frank. What's happening, Lucky? Nothing shaking. I'd like you to take these books here off my hands, would you? Oh, sure. We can all use them. No, especially you. They've had a charm for you. They kept you from taking the walk I'm taking today. I don't know. I've got a terrible hunch I'm turning the last few pages. No, you keep writing those writs. Those law books still work. Maybe not always in time for everybody, but they've done all right for you. Gee, Frank, I wish... you know. Sure, I understand. We'll be thinking about you tomorrow. Do that. Hi, kid.
Bruner?
How you doing?
Sick of this crummy place.
You're not in a hurry to leave it, are you?
I don't know. This whole joint.
You want to go with me?
If you think I'll kiss anybody goodbye, you're crazy. No one's ever handed me anything. I don't expect them to do it now.
You'll have it your way, kid. I think you're all noise.
Listen, Bruner, I don't see giving these bulls anything. When I go, they want to have an extra goon squad waiting because I'm going to leave them something to remember me by.
Kid, I ain't got much time to talk. I want you to have something in mind. Here.
What is it? Tom Sawyer. You a jokester?
No, I want you to have it.
I don't get it.
Well, you read it. Maybe it'll make you see somebody you never knew. And everything was wonderful tomorrow.
Yeah, sure, Bruno. I'll read it in the easy chair downstairs.
Sure, kid. I'll be seeing you.
Sure thing.
Sorry about the kid, Frank. He talks too much.
You get scared all kinds of ways, Cap.
Yeah, maybe so. You ready, Frank?
No. Let's go.
Bruner, I'm going to leave you and your sister alone in my office. It's not routine, but this time we'll forget routine for a moment. I want you to promise me you'll come when I call you. Agreed, Frank?
Thanks, Cap.
Frank? Frank?
Hello, sis.
Oh, Frank.
And now listen, honey, we haven't got much time. We shouldn't spend it bawling, huh?
You're right.
How'd you get up here?
The train?
How's Mom and Dad?
Oh, Frank.
I ask you a question, honey.
They're fine. You know they send their love.
I'm glad you made them stay home. There's no need of...
How have you been, darling?
Fine.
They tell me that this is our last chance to visit.
That's right, honey.
Oh, Frank.
Now, listen, Ruthie. Listen close. There's not much time left. I want you to do something for me, something important. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to call Alice's family.
What?
I want you to call Alice's family.
But, Frank...
Now, please, honey. I killed Alice, but I want them to know, as I've always said, that it wasn't from hate or anything like that. It just hurt. Knowing after all those years that we were together, she really cared for someone else.
I will, Frank, I promise.
I couldn't see life without her, and it was even worse to live knowing that she was with someone else and not me. If I couldn't have it, nobody else could. Maybe they'll understand.
Frank.
Listen, honey, I want you to go now, please.
But, darling...
No, Ruthie, this is no good for both of us. You go on.
Frank, why? Why?
Would you give me a kiss?
Frank.
Thanks, honey. Now go. Go on. This is it, huh, Sarge? Last stop. When I was upstairs on the row, I used to see him come down here in the afternoon before, just like today. I always wondered. Anyway, the wondering's over.
You got enough cigarettes?
You know, I don't smoke much, Sarge. It's bad for the system. Hey, what time did Cap say he'd be back?
Around 6.
Well, it's almost that now, isn't it?
Just about.
Time is something we'll all be keeping track of pretty close the next 14 hours, huh?
Sorry, Frank. I'm late, I know.
Oh, that's all right, Cap. I'm in no hurry, believe me.
Warden's coming over around 9.
You think he'll have any news?
Well, I understand he's been in touch with the state capitol. It's routine, of course, you know.
I don't have much of a chance, do I, Cap?
I really don't know, Frank.
Well, I know.
Anything I can get you, Frank?
Yeah, there is. A phonograph.
I think that can be arranged.
And some nice records, something classical, something easy on the ear.
I'll certainly try. Meanwhile, Chaplin's asked if you want to see him.
Of course I do. I'm no fool. Tomorrow morning isn't going to be easy. I never kidded myself on that. I don't want to walk in there alone.
Hey, Whitey. Whitey.
What?
The lights will be out in a minute or two. 10 o'clock.
So?
I wonder what Bruner's doing.
He's probably doing it hard.
He was an okay guy. Never could quite figure. Hey, what did he give you?
His dictionary.
Dictionary? You know what he gave me? Tom Sawyer. Can you imagine?
Listen, kid. He had you figured a long time ago when you first come up here. All you did when he came by this afternoon was lip off.
What was I supposed to do? Break down in tears?
Don't be so sure of yourself. But like I was saying, guys like him you never figure out. First they're with you, and then you're sitting like us right now remembering them. And you're glad they were with you.
What could I say?
I don't know.
Hey, Whitey, you think Brunner will really go tomorrow morning?
Who knows?
Well, one of the bulls was telling me a couple of weeks ago that when one of us gets it, they knock off all the phones an hour before. Said something about keeping the lines clear except for the one downstairs. Real slick, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, real slick. Everything dies in order. The free world when you come in here. And the last light of day in the afternoon before. And just before they sit you down in a little green room, they kill all the phones. And they go about killing you.
You are listening to The Phones Die First, tonight's presentation in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Underworld characters who want an easy buck and aren't fussy how they make it are endlessly inventive. Fortunately, the agents of the FBI are even quicker and shrewder in their counter-efforts to foil their plans and ferret them out of hiding. You can hear another startling drama on the popular CBS radio program, The FBI in Peace and War, over most of these same stations, tomorrow night.
And now we bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Harry Bartell, starring in tonight's production, The Phones Die First, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Hello, Frank. I'm Father Malahan. Hello. Yeah, it's a beautiful piece you're playing. Yeah, Father. I'll turn it off. No, please don't. Beautiful. I understand you're a Protestant. Yeah? You asked for a priest? You know, there's a Protestant chaplain here. Yeah, I know, Father. He's probably a right guy, but I don't know how to say it. What? I've heard ever since I came to this place practically a year ago that you were quite a good Joe. I'm sorry, Father. I didn't mean it. Please, I'm flattered. You wanted a friend. Yeah. Well, Frank, I suppose when it's all said and done, what is religion? Faith, but a friend. Sort of hold on to. I've been so busy all day, I haven't really eaten anything yet. How about you? I'm not too hungry. Oh, come on. You're not going to let me eat alone, are you? Tell you what we'll do. We'll phone from here and have Smitty send up something. Smitty, you're a brave warrior, Father. Oh, I see. You've heard of Smithy, our prize chef, huh? Well, you can't do any more than... And kill us, Father? I don't think that's called for. Do you, Frank? I'm sorry. Well, what are you going to have, Frank? I'll match you, dish for dish. I should have known better than to try to eat more than a Dutchman. I think you did pretty good, Father, considering that you haven't got much to stow your food away. Hey, you casting aspersions at this thin house of mine? You'd be surprised. What time is it? Midnight. A little past. Would you mind Father staying here tonight? I know it isn't the best hotel, but
Be glad to.
the fellas were right. You're no...
Where's your home, Frank?
You mean where I was born or where I live? Both. I was born in Seattle, but I spent most of my life up around Modesto.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful farming country. I've been through there often.
We aren't so far from it here.
No, we're not.
In about 10 hours from now, I'll be a long ways away.
Frank, you a fatalist?
No, Father. But I know when not to kid myself.
Oh, I don't think it's kidding yourself to believe that even though we may be in some dire straits, that often we actually come out of them.
Not this time.
Well, if I were you, I'd sort of put my trust in someone much more sure than you and me. Then I'd relax as best I knew how.
Sure.
Yes?
Mr. Johnson,
Oh, Miss Bruner, I was just going to call you. I have an appointment with the governor at 9 this morning.
is he in town?
Yes, we're in luck. He left the capital last night, and this morning my secretary called me that he's staying with friends here.
Have you already talked with him?
Yes, but just briefly. He's agreed to talk with me regarding Frank this morning. Miss Bruner.
Yes.
Don't raise your hopes at this late hour. As Frank's lawyer, all I can do is present what we've presented before and had turned down.
Hanging on and believing.
No, of course not. I promise I'll call you when I hear definite news.
You'll call regardless of what it might be.
Yes, I promise.
Morning, Father.
Good morning, Captain.
Bruner, how are you?
Thanks for the record you sent over and the phonograph.
Oh, I was glad to do it. Bruner, the warden won't be over until time. He told me to tell you he'll be in personal touch with the governor this morning.
You're in time for breakfast, Captain.
I don't mind if I do.
You feel like trusting Smitty again, Frank?
What have I got to lose?
You know, Captain, I'm getting to be a freeloader around here. Last night, again this morning. What'll the budget director say?
I think he'd say, let's eat.
All right, Captain. Let's have orange juice, bacon and eggs, hot cakes, toast, and strong black coffee. More coffee, Frank? How about you, Captain?
No, thanks, Father. I got to be going. There's some things I've got to attend to.
Captain.
Yes, Bruner?
I'd like to ask you something.
Sure.
When it comes time this morning, which isn't too long now, I want just you and the father to go with me. Will you promise?
I'll see, Bruner.
Hey, Whitey?
Lucky.
You checking the time?
Who ain't?
Frank was all right, huh? Wish he could have been around longer.
Hey, you're the lawyer up here. How about this last-minute stay routine? Couldn't Frank get it as well as the next guy? Now, you know, we've seen him get him.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock now. If they're going to give him one, they better be warming up the warden's phone.
I'd like to see him come up that elevator again. It'll do us all good.
Are you guys praying over there? Why don't you drop dead? Oh, no. No, they're going to have to do the honors for me. Hey, Whitey, you ever see such a screwball?
You'll meet a different kid come his time to follow Frank. Believe me. Father, I'm scared.
If you weren't, I wouldn't understand you.
Will it hurt?
Frank, you trust me.
You know I do.
Then I want you not to say anything more. All right?
But, Father,
I like you, Frank. Because you know something?
You're like a brother of mine. Is he a priest? No, he's making money, a contractor in St. Paul. I'm glad you became a priest. I am too, Frank, because I met you. You're just being nice. Oh, no, Frank. I'd say this had we met outside. You know, we can't really judge our fellow man always by what he does or doesn't do. What we see is but a little bit of the man. God sees all of him. And what's important? The heart. The intent of his life. I wouldn't worry if I were you, Frank. Whatever comes. Father, I don't know what I would have done without you. You're a good friend.
Will all of those of you who have proper identification and credentials for admittance to the chamber area prepare them now for showing before entering. I must remind you again that no smoking or talking will be allowed once you're in the outer chamber itself. And I must remind you also that once you are inside, you will not be allowed to leave. Should you feel the need for assistance at any time during the ensuing proceedings, a custodial officer will be there to assist you. May I say now, if there's... You may do so. Very well. You will sign the register inside the chamber, giving your name, address, and professional capacity. I recognize a few faces in the group, but to those who are here for the first time, we do not treat these proceedings as a show, but a grim task to be done as quickly and mercifully as possible. Will you come with me, please?
Chamber. Yes? Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll tell. Yes, sir. Sure. It was the warden.
Yeah?
He hasn't been able to reach the governor.
Yeah, I know. The warden couldn't reach him. He just don't want to be reached. Frank. That's your show, Father. The make-believe's all.
Frank. Will you listen to me?
I have been, Father, and I'm still going through that green door over there.
Frank is a friend.
As a friend, would you pray with me? It's a prayer we both know, that I'm sure. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come.
Father, we're ready.
So are we. Would you give us a moment?
Surely.
Frank, would you put your hand in mine for just a moment? Here, Father. And then we'll walk like only friends can. Side by side. Each giving strength and peace to the other. Father, I'm with you.
Father won't have to go.
Yes, of course. Come on, Frank. Let's walk together.
Chamber. Yes, sir. Warden! It's the governor's office.
Father. Yes, Frank. We're going to be all right.
Suspense, in which Harry Bartell starred in tonight's presentation of The Phones Die First. Next week. we bring you a story of a woman who finds a letter warning of death and has only 3 hours to deliver it. We call it The Death Parade. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed in Hollywood by Anthony Ellis. Tonight's story was written by Jules Maitland. The music was composed by Rene Garrigant and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Heard in tonight's cast were Barney Phillips, William Justine, Tom McKee, Jack Crucian, Herbert Ellis, Richard Crenna, and Eleanor Tannen.
Nothing gives old man trouble as much personal trouble as a smile, and nobody seems more dedicated to making life tough for old man trouble than Arthur Godfrey. Tomorrow and every Monday through Friday, listen over most of these same stations for Arthur Godfrey Time. It's one sure way to tune in on happiness. Stay tuned for 5 minutes of CBS News, to be followed on most of these same stations by My Son Jeep. America listens most to the CBS Radio Network.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a transcribed story of a woman who finds a letter warning of death and has only 3 hours to deliver it. We call it The Death Parade. So now, starring Paula Winslow, here is tonight's suspense play, The Death Parade.
Johnson, let's try and talk about this, huh? Now, this girl fell or was pushed off a roof this morning, and you say you were the only other person there at the time?
Well, I was. I told you. Oh, what do you mean, pushed? You mean you think that I... Oh, how can you?
I know you're upset, but will you just take it easy and try to answer the...
Upset? I'm really out of my mind. I don't see how you can expect me to tell you anything. First you accuse me, and now you... Oh, how can you policemen be so unfeeling? All I was trying to do was... Oh, it's freezing in here. You've no right to...
Miss Johnson. Try some of this coffee. It'll make you feel better. Now, you've told us you know something about this accident, something more than we already know.
Yes, I do, Lieutenant. I mean, it never would have happened. Don't you see?
Sure. I just want to drink this. This will help you.
Oh, I am so nervous. Oh, it's spilled.
Well, that's all right. It's all right. We'll clean it up later.
Well, that's how it started. You see? That's how it started this morning. Just like that. The coffee. That poor girl wouldn't have died if the coffee hadn't spilled. That's just how it started. My name's Ellen Johnson. I work at the Farnsworth Chemical Plant. For 12 years I've been there and never missed an hour of work. That is, until today. It was so unnecessary. That horrible, rude little man. He was the one. I'm very precise about my daily habits. Very. When you live alone, you arrange things that way. In the morning, I arise and allow myself time to take coffee and toast at the cafe on my corner. I've always disliked cooking in the morning. I leave the cafe at 8:15 precisely in order to be at my desk exactly at 9. This morning was the same, just the same, except for that horrible man. He was awful. As I sat at the counter, I could feel him there, 2 seats away, thin and dark, making a nasty noise as he drank his coffee. It was all his fault.
Going to see the parade this afternoon, miss?
Oh, no, I'm afraid I'll be working.
That's too bad. Should be good for business.
Yes, I imagine so.
Anything else?
Hey, you.
Oh, no, thank you.
It's 25. Coffee and toast, is it right?
Yes.
Thanks.
Hey, you. Pass the sugar, will you?
Good morning.
See you tomorrow.
What's the matter? I asked for the sugar. You can't pass it?
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, why, look at that. You deliberately spilled that coffee all over my skirt. Oh,
Gee, ain't that a shame? What a clumsy. Gee, am I sorry?
He wasn't in the least sorry. He'd done it on purpose. I was wearing a gray silk dress, and it was probably ruined. He just stood there and wiped at the stain with his napkin, smiling. Dirty, crooked teeth. I pushed him away and walked out. I knew I was going to be late because I had to change, so I went home again. If I hadn't gone home, this awful thing might never have happened. It took me 15 minutes to get back to the apartment, change my dress, and leave again for the office. I'd walked 3 blocks when I saw the letter. It was lying on the pavement in front of an apartment house. Because I'm very meticulous about my filing in the office, I can't bear things to be out of place. I suppose that's why I picked it up. It was unsealed and addressed simply to Miss Sheila Mannix. No house number or street. Dear Sheila Mannix, you don't know me. I just got into the city. It doesn't matter who I am, but this is a warning. Believe me, you better take notice. Jack's got it in for you. Oh, I stopped reading. There was more, but I didn't want to go on. It frightened me a little, and, well, I'm not one to pry into other people's business. But this wasn't prying, really. It wasn't. The letter was important. Whoever had written it must have forgotten to put the address on it, and it had fallen out of their pocket. I thought of the police then. I should have told them about the letter, but I didn't. I didn't know what else was in it then. All I could think of at that moment was finding Sheila Mannix and giving her the letter and forgetting it. I went back to my own apartment and looked through the telephone book. There were 2 Sheila Mannixes listed. The first lived on Maple Street and the second on South Tower. I rang the Maple number first.
Hello?
Oh, hello. Is this Miss Sheila Mannix speaking?
Oh, Mrs. Sheila Mannix? Who's this?
Well, my name is Ellen Johnson, and I found a letter this morning addressed to a Sheila Mannix. I thought it was important, and I wanted to make sure it got to the right party.
Well, who's it from?
Well, that's it. You see, I don't know.
Have you opened it?
Well, yes, but I only read a few lines.
Oh.
Do you know someone named Jack?
Jack? Well, yes, I do have a nephew.
Oh, then
well,
perhaps...
he's in Colorado, though.
It seems to be some sort of a warning.
Warning? I'm afraid I don't understand.
The letter says that Jack has got it in for you. It's a warning.
Well, I'm afraid the letter isn't for me because, you see, my Jack is only 10 years old.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to have troubled you.
Well, it's all right. Bye.
As I hung up, I realized the Sheila Mannix I was looking for might not even have a telephone. She might not even be living in the city any longer. I looked at my watch. 9 o'clock. There was my job, but The second Sheila Mannix listed in the directory lived on South Tower. I dialed the number. Then got the letter out of my purse and read it. This time I read all of it. Dear Sheila Mannix, don't know me. I just got into the city. That's who I am. A warning. But even you better take notice. Jack's got it in for you. The drunk one night told me about it. Somebody you knew pretty well died last year. He didn't fall off that building. He was pushed, and Jack did it. Said he was going to get you, too. Oh, dear. I would have told the police, but they'd start to get nosy about me. Jack's on his way here, and the way he talks, he'd better not find you around. He talks crazy about a parade. The corner of Main and Thomas at 12 o'clock. That's when he's going to do it. A friend. The second Sheila Mannix's address was 317 South Tower Street. I got my car out and drove there. It must have been nearly 9:45 when I drew up outside. It was an old rooming house. Oh, hurry up. Come on.
Yeah? What do you want?
Well, I'm very sorry to trouble you. Is your name Sheila...
Talk louder. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wonder if you could tell me, is your name Sheila Mannix?
No.
Oh,
No, it's not.
But the phone book has a Sheila Mannix listed at this address.
Well, it's her phone. She pays for it. I never had no cause to use it.
She does live here, then?
She has a room upstairs. What's the matter? You asleep?
Oh, no. Well, does she work? Is she at work now?
How should I know? I never ask her where she goes. What's she done?
You mean you don't know? You don't know where she works? Well, then, do you know where she lived before she moved here?
No, she never says nothing. She's quiet and keeps to herself.
Oh, but where can I find her? It's important that I learn where she is right away.
She'll be home prompt by 7. Always is. Come back then if you got to see her.
Oh, 7 will be too late. I've got to find her now before 12.
There ain't no use shouting at me, miss. I can't tell you no more than I have already. Don't know nothing about Sheila Mannix.
Now I knew I'd wasted far too much time. I had to call the police. There was a drugstore on the corner, and I ran down the block to it. I was terribly afraid, and even more, there was a feeling that the house I'd just left was the home of the woman I couldn't find.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Oh, yes. Do you have a phone?
There's one over there, but it's out of order.
Oh, well, then could I use yours? It's an emergency.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a phone.
Well, I've got to call the police. Now, look, I've never been mixed up in anything like this before. It's a letter I found this morning, a warning about somebody being killed.
Oh, say, that sounds bad. There's a phone in the next door. Use that.
Well, maybe you know her. She lives down the block.
Who's that?
Sheila Mannix. She's the one, at least I think so.
Mannix? Oh, yes. Mannix. Yes, she comes in often to have a prescription filled.
Oh.
Very nice young woman.
Well, but do you know anything about her? I mean, where she works? I've got to find her right away.
Oh, no,
now, please, it's urgent. I asked her landlady, and she didn't know.
Seems to me she did mention it once.
Well, think. You must think. Now, please.
Well, now, wait a minute. It was just the other day we were chatting while I filled her prescription. Let me see. She said something about
Was it a restaurant? A cashier, maybe?
No.
A department store? Elevator operator?
No.
Oh, dear. Hat. Clothes? Shoes? An usher? Telephone operator?
No, that doesn't hit somehow.
Oh, you're not thinking. Now try.
Well, listen, ma'am, if I could help you, I would.
Oh, well, has she any friends in the neighborhood? Somebody who might know?
Oh, never mentioned it.
Can't you remember? Maybe she works in an office. Well?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll be with you in just a minute, sir. Excuse me a moment. There's a customer there. You better go next door and call the police.
But can't you remember?
I'll be back.
Maybe a chorus girl. But does she work in a bookstore? Oh, I can't wait. I'll come back after I call.
Ma'am, wait a minute.
Yes?
I remember.
Oh.
It's a bookstore.
Yes?
It's a book company or something like that. Simmons. That was it. Simmons Book and Stationery Corporation. That was it. Simmons Book
Thank you. It's on Main. Yes, I know the place. Thank you very much.
Good morning. May I help you?
Oh, yes, please. I'd like to speak to Miss Mannix. Miss Sheila Mannix. I understand that she works here.
I'm very sorry, ma'am, but Miss Mannix had an appointment.
She's not here?
Sorry, but...
But where did she go?
I think to the doctor.
Well, what doctor? Where? Now, when did she leave?
Well, if you'll wait here, I'll find out for you.
I should have tried. And that silly, precious little salesman, he took forever. How long does it take to get an address? I started to walk to the back of the store when he came down the aisle toward me.
I'm sorry to have taken so long. A customer on the phone, you know.
It's all right. I don't care. Just give me that doctor's address.
Why, yes, I have it right here.
Listen,
Yes.
if she comes back, if I miss her, now you tell her to stay right here.
Yes.
You understand? That don't let her leave the store again until I come back.
No.
Don't let her leave. It's a matter of life and death.
Oh? Well, all right. Is something wrong?
Something wrong. I ran to the telephone booth. I knew I'd done as much as I could alone to save that poor girl.
Police Department, Sergeant Leonard.
Police. Now listen. Please listen carefully. There's a murder going to be committed at 12 o'clock.
Who is it?
Oh, what does it matter? My name's Ellen Johnson. Please, I found a letter in the street this morning. It was to a woman called Mannix, a Sheila Mannix.
Would you spell that, please?
Oh, Mannix, Mannix. There's not time for me.
When did you find the letter?
I told you this morning. What difference does it make? Oh, it was 9, I think.
Well, why didn't you call earlier?
Well, I didn't. I tried to find her myself. I think I know where she is now.
Have you got the letter with you?
Yes.
Would you read it, please?
Oh, there isn't time. You've got to send some men here. It's a warning. Somebody called Jack is going to kill her at 12 o'clock on the corner of Main and Thomas.
There's a parade going on then. Now, what does this woman look like? Can you give us a description?
No, I've never seen her. I don't even know her.
You say you think you know where she is?
Yes, at a Dr. Morton, 101 Flower Street.
Where are you calling from?
Simmons Book and Stationery Store. She works here.
Now, will you get a description of the woman, please? I'll wait.
Yes, of course, but don't hang up. I found the young man again, and he told me what Sheila Mannix looked like. I got back to the phone and told the officer. Short, about 5'2", thin, possibly 90 pounds, wearing a brown coat with a brown shoulder strap bag.
We'll try to find her, Miss Johnson. Now, please stay there. I'll have an officer come to the store to pick up the letter.
I put the receiver on the hook and sat in the booth. I was shaking. My hands were wet. It was 11:20. Somewhere outside, I heard a band playing. The parade must have started. I stayed in the shop, and the minutes passed. 11:30, 25 to 12. At 20 minutes to, I just couldn't stand it any longer. The waiting, the awful waiting. I had to do something. I called Sheila Mannix's house again. There was just that chance, that slight chance. Maybe she went home after the doctor. Maybe she's there. Oh, 2 more. No, 3. Let it go 3 more. Oh, be there. You must. Hello? Oh, Miss Mannix. Oh, Miss Mannix. You'll never know. Oh, listen. You don't know me.
You have to speak louder. I can't hear a thing you're saying.
Who is this? Miss Mannix?
No, Miss Mannix isn't here. This is the landlady. I'm cleaning up. Is there a message?
I couldn't stay in that store any longer. I gave the letter to the salesman and told him to give it to the police when they arrived. It was 11:45. Main Street was alive with people. It seemed as though the whole city had turned out to watch the parade. To me, it was the same parade of last year and all the years before. But today there was a difference. The floats and the bright carriages meant nothing to me. I pushed my way along the street toward the intersection of Main and Thomas. I couldn't have stayed away if it were my own life depending on it. The crowd was so thick that it was impossible to see anything from the street, and I had to see. Then I thought of the Benson building and the roof. If I was up on the roof, I could see everything that happened on that corner. It was 5 to 12 when I got in the elevator and took it up to the 19th floor. I had to walk through the roof, and I could scarcely breathe as I opened the door and stepped out into the bright sun. Instinctively, I knew that this was the building. The same building that the man in the letter had been pushed from last year. For a minute, I didn't see anyone, and then, at the corner, standing near the edge, looking down, I saw her. A short woman, quite thin, dressed in a brown coat and a shoulder-strap bag. Oh, Miss Mannix. You are Miss Mannix, aren't you? I've been looking for you. It's about a man called Jack. He's looking. Oh, it's all right now. It's all right. Please, don't be frightened. Don't move back. Don't. The end. Just don't. Oh, what's the matter? Get away from there. Oh, no. No, it's...
That's how it happened, huh?
Yes, I tried.
You spend from 9 o'clock until 12 looking for, and you don't call us until 45 minutes before it happens.
Well, I told you why.
You know something, Miss Johnson? I think you're lying.
Lying? Why, how dare you say that? I was doing what I thought was right.
You picked up a letter, a warning letter, and you go to a janitor, you call people on the phone, but not the police.
Well,
You visit Sheila Mannix's house, you talk to the landlady, you talk to the neighborhood druggist, salesman of the bookstore, all witnesses, all alibis.
I wanted to find her.
And then you call the police when you're sure it's too late.
Well, how did I know she'd be up there? How?
Now, you've set up a mighty nice alibi for yourself. You were alone with Sheila Mannix. Now, who's to say you didn't push her?
Oh, stop it. You don't know what you're talking about. You've no right. I was trying to help her, that's all. I won't listen to you. I'm going home.
Sit down, Miss Johnson. Now, go on, sit down. That's better. I'm holding you for a while. It's going to take more than a cock and bull story like that to get you out of this. We're going to check, Miss Johnson. We're going to do an awful lot of checking.
I was a good citizen. I did my duty. I tried to save her, and you would...
Can I see you for a minute? Yeah. Now, you just stay right there, miss. We're not through yet.
Oh, murdered. That's what they're saying. I murdered her. He's saying that to me. After all the good, I was only trying... Now, what are they saying? It's about me. I know it. I know it.
Well, that does it then. Well, Miss Johnson, we know what happened now.
You know? What do you mean you know? I told you. That's how it happened. Every
Now, I'll
word.
tell you something. I've got to believe you. There's nothing I can do about it.
Nothing you can do. Well, what should you do? Instead of frightening the life out of me, you should...
Now, will you listen to me for a change? Miss Johnson, I'd like nothing better than to throw the book at you, but I can't. We've got the man called Jack. He was picked up in the parade.
There, I was right.
The fellow that wrote the letter you found figured Miss Mannix might have moved. He didn't know where, so this morning he called the police. He told them the story, and that's how we caught her.
But then that's... Then she was safe. He couldn't have killed him.
That's right.
Well, why was she on the roof? Why did she go there? She wasn't in any danger then, was she?
Oh, yes, she was. From you, because you found her and frightened her to death.
I was only telling her that there was nothing to be afraid of.
Oh, sure, that's wrong. You know she was standing in the same place where her boyfriend was killed a year ago. And then you come along and mention the name of the man that she knew killed him. Now maybe you know why she was afraid and backed away from you. You didn't do a thing. Well, I want you to know something. I want you to sleep with it for the rest of your life. If you just called the police when you picked up that letter, Sheila Mannix would be alive right now. Now, you think about that, huh?
I can't see where I was wrong. Well, maybe I should have called sooner, but I did call. If you hadn't taken
get
so
out
long...
of here, will you? Get out, please, Miss Johnson. It's just too bad we can't send you where the other guy's going. He killed last year. You did it today, and just as sure as if you'd shot her. Now, go on. Get out, Miss Johnson, please.
Well, it's all right, Lieutenant. I understand. I can see why you're upset. I am sorry. I was only doing what I thought right. That's all. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't. If they'd got there sooner, it never would have happened. I've nothing to reproach myself about. Nothing. Oh, dear, I'm so upset. Whole day's work. My gray silk dress ruined. I'll never be able to get that coffee stain out.
And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a story of a postmaster and his desperate search for an unwelcome package. We call it Fragile, Contents Death. So now, starring Victor Perrin, here is tonight's suspense play, Fragile, Contents Death.
All it took was a phone call. Until it came that morning, everything at the post office was the same as it had always been. I was just another postmaster, 40 years old, with the postal problems of some 80,000 people to look after. All it took was that call to make things a nightmare. As I said, the day was just a day. I remember I was making up my mind to get busy on the stuff piled on my desk. It was 9:15.
Morning, Mr. Jordan.
Oh, morning, Hartley. I'm just going to send for you. Don't tell me all this heat is from me.
That's right.
Well, didn't anybody weed it out?
It's been weeded, Mr. Jordan.
Well, if I must, I must. Even a parcel, I see.
Yeah, it's marked personal.
From Paxton and Brown, something or other, Broadway, New York. Oh, I remember. Sure, this must be that new type of lawn sprinkler I ordered for the wife. You should have had it sent to the house. Put it over there, would you? I'll take it along when I go home.
Here?
That's fine. Post office, this is Jordan.
Jordan. That postmaster, Jordan?
That's right. What can I do for you?
Plenty. You got a bomb someplace in the mail down there.
Is this a joke?
Listen carefully. This is no joke. A guy I know sent another guy a bomb, a time bomb. It'll be delivered here in town. It was supposed to be set to go off at 7 tonight, but it ain't. He forgot to change the timer before he shipped it. It's set for 2:30 this afternoon, 5 hours from now. I don't like that. Maybe some poor guy like a mailman will get it instead of the guy who's supposed to. That's why I'm telling you about it. You gotta find it and stop it. One other thing, too. It's fixed so it'll go off when you open the package. Got all that?
Sure, I got it. Well, how do I recognize this bomb? Who's it addressed to?
I ain't telling who sent it.
I don't care about who sent it. Who gets it? Who gets the bomb? Hello? Hello? Hartley.
Yes, sir?
You probably heard enough of that to know what's going on.
Something about a bomb in the mail.
Yeah. Now listen carefully. I'm only going to tell you once. Get out of here on the double. I want the assistant superintendent of mails and the dispatcher, Stewart and Fox. Get them in here as quick as you can. You got that?
Yes, sir.
Operator.
This is Jordan. How many inspectors are in today? Do you know?
Just a moment, Mr. Jordan. Mr. Williams is in. Mr. Jackson left word he'll be out in Lincoln County until tomorrow. And Mr. Thompson entered the hospital this morning to have his appendix out.
Well, ring Ed Williams for me, please. Tell him to get over to my office right away. It's urgent.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Fox. Come in, sit down.
Yes, sir.
Something wrong? Plenty. Bomb in the mail.
You know much about it?
I'll tell you later. Williams and Stewart are in on this, too.
Yeah, we have her in for a busy day.
Hartley said there was a hurry-up call in here, so close that door in my face, Joe.
Come on in, Ed. Close the door. Sit down, both of you. Now sit down and listen.
Uh-oh. No raises this year. I've been waiting for him to spring it on him.
Button it up, Joe. Here's what we do have staring us in the face. I just told Fox a minute ago there's a bomb in the mail someplace.
Oh, bomb.
That's right. A few minutes ago, I got a phone call. I don't know who it was. All I got were these facts. Now, 9:30. Between now and 2:30, we've got to find a time bomb which was mailed to somebody here in town.
Somebody? Don't have any name at all?
He didn't get around to that. Either he wouldn't tell me or he was cut off. I'm hoping, just a slender hope I know, I'm hoping you'll call back, but we can't count on it.
How do we know this isn't a leg pull, Doug?
We don't. But we can't afford to take chances with somebody's life. Would you?
No. What kind of a package?
We don't know. Any kind.
Oh, it's great.
That spreads your field out something terrific, Stuart.
How?
Well, you not only have your truck packages, you have carrier packages, too.
Carrier wouldn't have that big a package.
Still, with the powerful explosives we have nowadays and the small wiring circuits possible, why not?
Yeah. I'll give you another one. How about a newspaper roll? That's big enough, isn't it? Carriers handle them, don't they?
That's right. Now, here's what I think. If that thing was mailed early this morning, it's either out there in the parcel post bin or at one of the substations. If it was mailed last night, it's probably on one of the trucks right now. Or else it's been delivered. Or else it's been delivered, yes.
A lot of stuff's off the trucks for now.
That complicates it, but let's do what we can as fast as we can. But you round up all of the special delivery cars, send them out after those trucks, and get all the packages back here. We'll go over them after they get here. Okay. Try to get the drivers to remember what's been delivered and where. Skip the insurance deliveries. This won't be insured. Get as much back as you can.
Well, but what if they can't remember everything?
You leave that to me. But do this, too. Call the substations. Get all their stuff.
All right. Anything else?
Well, not now.
All right. I'm on my way.
Stewart, you'll go through our own stuff in the back. Let's see. Delivery from New York Central's number 3 hasn't come over from the station yet, has it?
No.
Well, that makes it a little better. Get everything we've got together in one place and keep it there. Keep the out-of-town packages out of it. Just add the stuff from the substations and the trucks as it comes in.
And the pickup trucks, of course.
What?
Some of the drop boxes out in the suburbs are for letters and parcels both. We get some packages coming in on the pickups from those boxes.
I've forgotten that.
And the trucks should be in by 11. We might as well go ahead with everything else until they get here.
Just so we get them as soon as they come in. I'll leave that to you.
Well, if we're going to do all this, I'd better get on it. No use standing around here any longer than necessary.
No, go ahead.
So you want me to check the packages, right?
I don't have to tell you your business, Ed. I know your record as an inspector is A1.
Well, fill me in a little more, will you, Doug?
Okay, shoot.
Is this a time bomb?
That's what he said. We have less than 5 hours now.
Yeah, I got that. Well, what else about it? Would it be safe to open?
No. It'll go off if you open it. He said so.
Oh, rougher. I'm going to get help, Doug.
All you want.
Use your phone.
Help yourself.
Operator.
Outside line.
Thank you.
State Police, Company A, Sergeant Rock speaking.
Rocky, this is Ed Williams, post office. Is Jesse in today?
Yeah, you want him?
No, don't call him. No time. Tell him to come on over here right away, would you?
Sure. What do you want with explosive experts? You got a bomb?
Maybe. Keep it under your hat.
You know me.
Another thing, Rocky, you guys got the fluoroscope just now?
Oh, a touchy one, huh? No, we loaned it to Company E up in Foreman.
I could use it, that's for sure.
That's only about 100 miles. I'll call them up and get them to fly it in. Probably get it to you in about an hour, a little over.
Oh, good. And you'll tell Jesse.
Yeah, we'll do.
Now, to work, Doug.
Same here, boy.
Yeah, how about those carriers? About 100 of them, aren't there?
94.
Well, can you do it? Can you hit them all?
I don't know. All I can do is try.
But you're thinking the same thing I am. Remembering the same case.
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yeah. That poor devil of a carrier. Alive, but barely.
That's one reason I want to find this bomb before our luck runs out. 11:30. 2 hours gone. I went back to the mailroom.
Hello, Doc.
How's it going?
Well, we have all this over here so far.
A lot of work. Any leads, Ed?
Not yet. Not even anything suspicious. Well,
how can you tell?
I can't tell, really. Sometimes there's something about the handwriting or the printing or the... I guess you just feel it sometimes. I don't know. I don't get anything like that in this stuff.
Not even a fake return address?
Not a one in the lot. None of the locals, anyway. We've checked them all.
Fluoroscope in yet?
Well, the plane's in. They phoned me a few minutes ago. It's on the way over. It'll be here any minute.
Well.
Mr. George's telephone.
Okay, what line?
On 8.
Thank you, I'll get it. This is Jordan.
Mr. Jordan, this is Malloy on truck 15.
Yes, Malloy.
I got the word about getting back these packages. Everything's practically okay. Only this. My second delivery, I left one off at this place, 1724 Lime Street. I go back there a while ago and nobody's home.
They were there when you left the package?
Yeah. A fat, bald-headed guy took it, as I remember.
Well, check the neighbors.
I already have, Mr. Jordan. Nobody knows for sure where they went. There's some talk about them leaving for Washington this morning, but I can't pin it down. They drove anyway. Car's gone. Garage is empty.
Well, that's using your head, Malloy. At least we have something to shoot at. Do you remember the name?
No, I don't. But that fat guy sure looked like a crook. Tabbed him for one the minute I laid
What's
out.
that?
Well, Miller came driving out and caught me and said you were hunting a package of stolen goods in the mail. Maybe he shot off his mouth too much, huh? Wasn't I supposed to know?
No, Malloy. It's all right. I forgot that he knew what we were after. Will you say you got everything else?
Yeah. Be right in if you say so.
You do that.
Check.
Foxy.
Yeah.
Look up 1724 Lime Street and get the name. Anything else? Get that name, then get on to it. The state police to intercept them if possible. Those people received a package this morning. They may have left town for Washington. They're probably driving. With luck, they may not have opened that parcel yet.
That's a real long shot, sir. Going on a trip, carrying an unopened package? I doubt it.
It's against common sense, but we have to try. You try, Foxy. 12 o'clock, lunchtime. I ordinarily eat at Bailey's, but not today. We had sandwiches and coffee brought in. The coffee was welcome, but we didn't seem to be very hungry. Alone in my office sipping coffee, all I could think about was the time was half gone. This is Jordan.
Darling, haven't you forgotten something?
Oh, hello, dear. Forgotten something?
I'm down at Bailey's waiting for you. I've been here 25 minutes. We're lunching together today, remember?
Oh, yes. Well, look, Alice, I'm afraid I'm going to have to stand you up. Something's come up.
Well, you'll be sorry. There's the best-looking man sitting in here all by himself, the tall, rugged, iron gray type. You know how I go for those. He'd probably be very glad to buy me a meal.
You try him and see. I have confidence in you, sweetheart. Anything to save us a buck.
Then you definitely aren't coming.
I'm afraid not. I'll tell you all about it tonight.
Sometime remind me never to marry a busy executive again. Bye.
Bye. What do you got, Foxy?
Things in my mind, Judge. First, let me get this one off. The cops picked up the Morgans.
The Morgan?
Yeah, the couple who were driving to Washington found them in the service station on the edge of town.
They got the package.
Well, they'd already opened it. Nothing much in it except some fancy sports shirts from Morgan himself.
And they're on their way again?
Yeah, with apologies. Understand they were scared silly, though. Morgan offered to show the cops his shirts. Even wanted to give him one. Afraid they were stolen goods.
I'm glad that's cleaned up.
Yeah, I'd say just had a call from the Woodmont branch.
Go on.
Do you remember Spicer?
Spicer? Yeah, suspicion of robbing the mails. What about him?
Looks as though he hung one on himself this time.
Well, how's that?
Well, as I say, this clerk out at Woodmont put a bunch of packages in the bins just before he quit last night. He remembered one for Dr. Turner. This Turner, it seems, collects magazine first editions. Sometimes these aren't worth insuring, sometimes they are. But they're always worth something more than their original price. And this package looked like one of those.
What about the carrier, Spicer?
Well, it seems he blew in just as the place was about to close. Said he forgot a bag of his with some new shoes that he bought. He drifted through and then right out again. Nobody paid any attention at the time.
And this morning, Turner's package is gone. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Spicer?
It's his day off. Substitute's working.
You're sure the package is gone?
Well, Turner called to ask if it came in, and they couldn't trace it. That's how they were sure it's missing.
I don't have to tell you the next move, do I?
No, I already tried. Called his rooming house. He's not in. Didn't come in last night either. Should I call the police?
I'd better do that, Foxy. Thanks.
Even if he has the thing, he surely opened it by now.
And so myself, but we can't be sure. We can't take chances. I better call.
Operator?
Get me the police station. Ed, any luck with this pile of stuff?
Well, one that's uncertain. Trying to make up my mind.
So? Let's see.
Here.
It's not very big.
Wouldn't have to be.
addressed to Jack Gordon, 128 Andrews Street. Is that anybody important?
Never heard the name. If you ask me, it's a kid.
What makes you think so?
Return address.
Columbia Foods Incorporated.
The cereal coupons. Fluoroscope indicates a watch inside. Let's put a stethoscope on it.
Okay.
Get it?
Ticks, all right.
Good question. Is it a dollar watch or is it?
Watch, probably.
Probably.
Let's play it safe.
That's what I thought.
Take it outside?
Ordinarily, yes. But we couldn't detect anything that would trigger the thing, so we'll put it in the water bucket here.
Did you put wetting agent in the water?
Yeah. It'll soak through the wrapping quicker and then throw anything else inside that much faster. That does it. The inside takes a little longer.
Reminds me of the time I put in as an inspector.
Here you were pretty good, Doug.
Is it lucky?
Getting the walkers lucky. Better have a look at your toy here. Easy. Easy. Up she comes. There. Looks as though we were right the first time, Doug. Here, have a pocket watch. Genuine hobby.
Keep it for a souvenir.
That's one kid we all watch. Will the budget stand it?
It'll strain it, but it won't break it.
Hey, let's step out back. I need a cigarette.
Good idea. You heard about this carrier, Spicer?
Yeah, Foxy told me. Get him yet?
The police haven't.
Maybe the police haven't got him, but has it.
The clock's hands were still going around. 1:30. Just about 1 hour to go, and still we hadn't found that bottom. We hadn't found it. We hadn't found the missing carrier. All we had found was a new headache every few minutes. This is Jordan.
Mr. Jordan, this is Malloy again. The driver, you know.
Oh, yes, Malloy. Do you have something new?
Well, sort of. You see, Mr. Jordan, it's like this. While I was eating lunch, I kept thinking, and all of a sudden I remember this other package I delivered this morning out on Beach Avenue. So I drive over here to see about it. I'm at the house now.
Have you got the package? Have they opened it?
No, it ain't open. Well, you better talk to this lady, Mr. Jordan. She won't listen to me. Here, Mrs. Bates, this is the postmaster on the line. Himself in person.
Hello. This driver says you're the postmaster. Is that right?
That's right. This is Douglas Jordan.
I don't understand all this about the package which came from my husband. First this man delivers it, now he wants it back.
But he's perfectly right, Mrs. Bates. We'd very much like to have that parcel.
I don't see why. It has my husband's name on it. It's the correct address. I'm afraid I can't give it back until my husband has a chance to examine it.
What did our driver tell you, Mrs. Bates?
He had some story about stolen goods, but that doesn't make sense. Anyone would know that my husband would...
Someone may have confused him with another Bates. Have you thought of that?
No, I hadn't, but I'm still sure that my husband should pass judgment on this. If I were to take the responsibility and I were wrong...
Let me take the responsibility, Mrs. Bates.
He might not see it that way. He might say I let myself be talked into something.
Mrs. Bates, believe me, I'm sure your husband would be the first to thank us if he only knew. On my word of honor, we must have that package.
Well, it's your responsibility, understand? Here, young man. But I don't think my husband will thank you. He doesn't like anyone connected with the government. None of you.
For that, I'm sorry, Mrs. Bates, but thank you for giving us that parcel. But it wasn't what we were after. A box of advertising pencils, that was all. Then it was half an hour. I forced myself to stay in my office waiting for a call that they'd caught Spicer or that someone, somewhere, had turned up something. Ed? Any luck?
Not a bit. We've combed everything, not a thing.
They haven't caught up with Spicer yet.
I think that's a false lead anyway. If he has the thing, he's opened it by now.
That leads us nowhere.
Yes, it does.
Somebody's forgotten something. That must be it.
Maybe. Could be all a hoax, you know. What's the matter? Don't you want it to be a hoax, all this effort and nothing to show for it, that is? Want to repeat the Walker business? Catch a murderer through the mail?
No, Ed, no. I just want to be sure.
Well, by the way, he's out, you know.
Who?
Steve Walker, the brother. He's out of jail. Didn't you know? Why are you looking so funny?
Steve Walker. He said he'd get me.
Yeah, so what?
Where did I put it? Where's that lawn sprinkler?
Lawn sprinkler?
Now I know.
Where'd that package come from?
I've had it right here all day. Didn't even think about it. Came early this morning.
Let's not think. Let's move. Give me that.
Is there time?
I think so. Better be. Get it under the fluoroscope.
Look.
That's it. Brother, that's it, all right.
Do you have time to take it out to a safe place?
No, sir. All we can do is put it in a water bucket, take it into the alley, and pray.
Okay.
Here goes. Ought to get through that wrapper. Doug, we'll give it an hour, just in case.
5 minutes. 15. 30 minutes. 45. 1 hour. And then...
Well, Doug, there it is. All in little pieces. Be glad those pieces aren't you.
I am it. I am.
A pretty good collection of evidence.
Yeah,
you can go after Steve Walker with this, Doug.
Mr. Jordan, telephone.
Coming.
On course.
This is Jordan.
Well, I couldn't bear the thought of you plodding away down there. Now, maybe you'd like to hear the story about my luncheon. It was the most
Why,
exciting...
it better be good, honey. Wait till you hear the one I've got for you.
Suspense, in which Mr. Victor Perrin starred in tonight's presentation of Fragile, Content Death. And now, tonight's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense. Tonight, we bring you a terrifying study of a pyromaniac. We call it The Flame. So now, starring Tony Barrett, here is tonight's suspense play, The Flame.
I guess so. I don't know. I just got here. Hey, you know, mister?
The first floor.
What a mess. I wonder how it got started.
Some joker in bed with a lit cigarette probably fell asleep. No, that wasn't the way it started.
Wasn't, huh? You mean that...
It
can't take more than a little cigarette to start a fire like that. The whole apartment building's just about gone.
Well, maybe the guy who owns the building started it. You know, for the insurance and all. No, he didn't have anything to do with it.
Hey, look at it burn, will you?
Makes kind of a pretty pattern against the sky, though, doesn't it?
Pretty pattern. Are you kidding? Hey, what are you doing?
What?
What are you doing with that paper?
I'm drawing. I'm drawing a picture of the fire.
big, heavy man in the turtleneck sweater got flushed in the face. Red, just like the fire across the street. It was burning big now and went climbing high, way up. So high that it was going to touch off the sky, too. And just when it reached its peak, they put it out. Then there were big, black, ugly clouds of smoke. But I had the picture I'd drawn of the fire, just a pencil sketch. I colored it when I got home. Just the way I remembered. With reds, oranges, pinks. So I go home. When I get there, my sister Mary Lee is still up. She's in her robe. She should be in bed. She has to get up and go to work early in the morning. Why is she up at this hour?
Andy?
Yeah.
Where have you been all night? I had supper ready. You promised me you'd be home. What happened? Andy, don't just stand there. I asked you what happened.
Nothing happened. I just went for a walk.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Just leave me alone, Mary Lee. You have to nag at me all the time.
I'm not nagging at you, Andy. I'm just worried, and I get nervous when I worry, that's all.
Well, forget it. I'm home and I'm all right, so just don't worry yourself anymore, okay?
Okay, Andy. Wait a second. I wanted to ask you for a big favor.
Can't you ask me tomorrow morning, Mary Lee? I'm awfully tired.
You know Mr. Boyage in the dry goods store man, Andy?
Sure, I know him. He's one of my favorite people. What about him?
Well, this morning they took his wife to the hospital.
To the hospital? What?
Well, she's sick. Very sick, Andy. Tonight on the way home from work, Mr. Boyajian stopped me and asked me if I'd talk to you about helping him.
Well, sure I will, but how?
Well, he may have to spend some time at the hospital with her. He doesn't have anybody he can leave in the shop to take care of it, and he thought maybe you'd help him out.
Well, that'd be all right with me, but I don't know anything about the dry goods business.
Oh, it isn't hard, Andy. I told him I thought you wouldn't mind at all. Besides, it'll give you a little something to do to keep you busy. You won't have to...
Well, go ahead. Say it. You won't have to roam the streets like a bum? Just like Pa used to yell at me? All right, I like Mr. Boyajian, Mary Lee. I'll watch your storefront. Mr. Boyajian was a man who looked like Santa Claus. He had wonderful small eyes and big red cheeks. He laughed all the time. And when he laughed, his small eyes got big and they twinkled just like stars. Or like the flash of flame when you strike a match and it suddenly flares up with colors and warmth. And you get a funny sensation in your stomach. Yes, that was Mr. Boyajian, the man who owned the dry goods store on Union Street. Following morning, Mr. Boyajian wasn't laughing. There was no twinkle in his eyes. He looked sad sitting behind the counter. Mr. Boyajian?
Huh? Oh, Andy, it's you.
Hello.
Excuse me, Andy. My mind is not on what is happening. It is on this music. I'm far away when I listen.
Music?
Yes. It is the kind of music that the missus and I used to dance to when we was like your age. It is a folk dance, Andy, from the old country.
Oh, it's pretty. I like it. Mr. Boyajian, about your wife, I'm sorry she's sick.
Oh, you're sorry. Everybody is sorry, Andy, the whole neighborhood. Everybody tells me how sorry they are. But me, I am sorry most of all.
Is it very serious?
Yes, very.
Well, don't you worry. They'll take good care of it at the hospital. I know they will.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Oh, she'll have the best there is to offer.
She would if I could afford it.
Afford it?
Yes. You see, this sickness needs special kind doctor. This special doctor costs extra money. It's kind of money that I, as proprietor of this small dry goods store, do not have.
I wish there was something I could do.
You're a good boy, Andy. Good heart. You know, I wish I could have a son like you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyajian. Thank you.
I don't make the money I used to make. I can't work as hard. Sometimes I think I'd be better off if this place should burn down. I get the insurance money.
Insurance money?
Yeah, from fire insurance company.
I never thought of that.
You never thought of what, Andy?
Oh, what I mean was I never thought of things like fire insurance.
Of course, to do a thing like this, to even wish it, is against the law. Fire insurance is for the protection.
Of course.
Well, Andy, if you come to stay, I go to hospital.
Yes, you go right ahead, Mr. Boyajian. I'll take care of everything. Oh, you just leave everything to me. Mr. Boyajian looked so sad and so tired as he walked out the door. Why did there have to be terrible things like this in the world? Why couldn't everything be beautiful and good? Beautiful and good like a nice big fire. Clean, warm, burning all the evil and hurt. It was so simple I had to laugh. I decided I'd use the plumber's candle and the celluloid. That way all the evidence would be destroyed. There'd be no way of investigating the claim. I started to get really excited about it. I bought what I needed. I went home. I got out Mary Lee's cake tin. I went into my room and I started to experiment.
Andy, I wondered if you'd go down to... What are you doing?
What?
What are you doing? Trying to start a fire?
No, nothing, Mary Lee. Nothing at all. Just a little gag.
Gag? With my best cake tin?
I'm sorry.
Gag for what?
Well, Needles and I, we...
Needles. Andy, you've been down to that pool room again, haven't you?
So?
Oh, Andy, what's the matter with you?
What do you mean?
I mean, other fellas your age, they're out getting jobs, doing things, but you, all you do is hang around that pool room down by the sound, take walks at night, draw pictures.
Key, Andy?
Yes, Mr. Boyajian.
But key, what for, Andy?
Well, I just thought that maybe tomorrow morning you'd like to get over to the hospital earlier. I could open up the store for you.
Oh, Andy, already you've done so much for me. It's nice, but...
No trouble. Believe me, Mr. Boyajian. No trouble at all. I'd be happy to do it.
You know, to tell the truth, I would like to get over a little early.
Oh, sure you will.
Andy, like I said before, such a good boy there never was. Here, I give you Mrs. Boyajian's key. How's that?
That's fine. Fine, and don't you worry about a thing. I'll sell out tomorrow. I'll make you lots of money. I joked with Mary Lee at dinner that night. It surprised her, but it put her in a good mood. The nicest part about the plumber's candle was that I could measure it to burn to any time. An hour would be plenty of time. About 9:30, I told Mary Lee I was going down to the corner drugstore for a few minutes. Down on Union, I waited until the block was almost deserted. Then I let myself into the dry goods store. Boyajian had a crate of little girls' dresses he just received. Would be perfect tinder. I lined the strips of celluloid up, and I set the plumber's candle on top of the crate. Then, I struck a match and lit the candle. I watched the flame burn for just a moment. Then I went back to the apartment and I waited. Mary Lee was darning some socks. I sat for almost an hour, coloring my pictures, getting nervous. And when it was time, I asked her to go get some ice cream with me. When we got down to the street... Mary Lee, look, the fire.
What?
Come on.
Andy, I hate fires. I hope it's a false alarm.
No. That's false. Look, there's smoke. Plenty of smoke. Look. Hey, there it is, Mary Lee. There it is, right over there.
Andy, it's Mr. Boyajian's dry goods store.
Well, for heaven's sake, what do you know? Mr. Boyajian's dry goods store.
Oh, isn't it terrible? He hasn't got enough trouble as it is.
Oh, him, Mary Lee. He's got insurance.
Oh, I know, but how do you know?
Huh? We got to talking the other day. He told me about it.
Hey, Andy, what do you say, huh? Hot one, huh?
Oh, hello, Needles. Yeah, real hot, huh?
Andy! Who's that that's here now?
The old man.
Mr. Boyatin.
Yeah, somebody said he was passing by on his way home. He saw the fire, rushed inside trying to put it out. Boy, that was a crazy thing to do.
Is he?
Yeah.
Look at those flames lick up at the sky. Just like a torch. A lovely, lovely torch. Oh, it's beautiful.
Hi, Hotshot.
Hi, Needles.
I'll play some pool.
Okay.
Where you been? I seen you around since the funeral.
Here and there.
Go ahead, Andy. You shoot first. Hey, good break. Hey, that was tough about old man Boyatin, huh?
Yeah, too bad. You shouldn't have tried to put it out.
Yeah. You know, at first I thought the old guy started himself. You know, to collect the fire insurance, though, but... I guess he didn't.
Mrs. Boyatin will get the money, though, won't she?
Well, you can never tell. There were some fire insurance coppers around a couple days ago. You know, asking questions. But I got to investigate before they pay off. You're shot.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Hey, nice. Hey, talked to a lot of people in the neighborhood. Hey, talked to you, Andy? Hey, you were working for him, weren't you?
Helping him out. So he could go to the hospital.
They'll probably find out if it was a cooked-up thing or not.
What do you mean, cooked-up thing?
Well, you still can't toss out the idea maybe Boyatin himself started the fire.
He didn't.
How do you know? He got burned, didn't he? Hey, maybe he got caught or trapped. Couldn't get out. Hey, you shoot again, Andy.
That's ridiculous. He couldn't have started it.
Well, how do you know?
He couldn't have. He just couldn't have.
Why? Why?
Because.
Yeah? Because?
Nothing. Shoot me.
Because you started it? Is that maybe why?
Said shoot, Needles.
Hey, what you want to do, Andy? Help the old guy out?
I said shoot.
That was right decent of you. You know that? And a mighty fine job, too. Hey, how much were you in for?
I wasn't in for anything.
Sure. Oh, sure. It's just for the kicks, huh?
Mr. Needles, don't get me mad.
Put down the cue, will you? I was only kidding. You start fires just for kicks, huh? Oh, boy, that's a laugh, huh? Oh, sure. Look, Andy, don't get sore, will you? I was only kidding, huh?
Needles was the type of guy that got into all kinds of trouble. I wish he didn't get on my nerves so much. Later, I got home, opened the door of the apartment, and I suddenly got a funny feeling. I don't know what it was, but I was sure it had something to do with the man who was sitting in the living room with my sister. And when she introduced him as Inspector Shapiro of the fire insurance company, I knew why I had this strange feeling in my stomach.
He's investigating about the fire in Mr. Boyagin's store, Andy.
Oh. Well, Mr. Boyatin was one of my very best friends. I was very sorry.
I understand.
I went to the funeral.
Well, before we can pay Mrs. Boyatin the money she has coming, I have to make sure the fire wasn't started purposely.
Purposely?
He means somebody did it just to collect the money.
Oh.
That's right. So far, we haven't been able to learn how it was started.
I see.
Andy, the night of the fire, where were you?
Oh, I can answer that, Inspector. He was right here in this room with me.
I see.
I remember I was darning some socks and Andy was drawing.
Oh, Mary Lee, he doesn't want to hear about that.
He loves to draw.
Oh? You want to be an artist?
No, I just like to draw.
I see. You worked for Mr. Boyajian while his wife was in the hospital. At least, that's what your sister here told me.
I did it to help him out. I didn't do it for the money.
Well, did anyone come in while you were there? Someone who may have talked to him?
Mr. Shapiro, if you're trying to prove that Mr. Boyajian started the fire himself, you're wrong. He wasn't that kind of man. I know he didn't start the fire.
Well, I guess you're a blind alley for us, too. I kind of hoped that you'd be able to...
Oh, no, I'm not sorry, but believe me, Inspector, when I tell you that Mr. Boyajian didn't start that fire. For one thing, would a man burn himself up in a fire that he starts? That'd be a crazy thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yes, Andy, that's definitely a crazy thing to do.
Inspector Shapiro was not a stupid man. I could see that. I was going to have to be a little more careful for a little while anyway, until the investigation was over. I hoped that nothing would go wrong, that Mrs. Boyajian would get the money. About 2 weeks later, I saw Needles was standing in front of the pool room down near the Sound. He called me over. He said he had something very important to talk to me about. So we went into the back room of the pool room. He closed the door.
Cigarette, Andy?
You know I don't smoke, Needles.
Oh, sure, of course not, pal. Of course not. Well, Hotshot, how's firebugging these days?
Is that supposed to be a cute remark, Needles?
Ah, what's the matter? Can't you take a look, kid?
Not that kind. The idea of striking the matches.
Huh? Oh, yeah, it's just a nervous habit. Nervous habit. Pretty flame, huh, Andy?
Say what you have to say.
Well, I was thinking about poor Mrs. Boyajian, Andy. What if they hold up the claim, huh? Poor Mrs. Boyajian.
You're not saying anything.
I got a friend. He owns a small warehouse a couple blocks from here, Andy. He don't make much money with this here small warehouse, and he'd like to get rid of it. One night, this place burns down. Just like that. He's very, very sad. But then he gets happy because he collects quite a bit of fire insurance.
Fire insurance?
Yeah. Fire. Insurance. Now, my friend would pay good money if his warehouse burned down. Good money.
You would?
You could help out poor Mrs. Boyajian, Andy.
I don't know.
I just think of the fun you'll have. A flame. And you'll make it.
I'll make it.
That's right, Andy. Next Friday night, you'll make it.
Friday night seemed a long, long way off. A couple of times I wanted to go for walks, but then I kept thinking about the big one I was going to make on Friday night, and I decided not to go for any walks. I got some money from Needles. I bought all the stuff I needed, the celluloid, the plumber's candles. And then on Thursday, I met Needles' friend, and he took me on a tour of the warehouse. It was a 3-story building. When I finished going through it, I decided it would be best to start 2 fires on the 3rd floor, 1 on the 1st. And when I got home, I let myself in, but I didn't close the door. Because I heard voices coming from my room. It was Mary Lee and that voice that gave me the funny feeling.
You never bothered to look at this scrapbook?
Why? He draws pictures.
Miss, your brother is a very dangerous man.
I never suspected anything. I never bothered to look at the pictures he's drawn.
He'll have to be turned over to the authorities. They'll give him proper medical treatment. He's a dangerous man with a dangerous sickness.
I had to act now and act fast. I called Needles, told him we had to burn his friend's warehouse tonight. Tomorrow night wouldn't be any good, because I'd have to leave Seattle now. He didn't want to at first because we hadn't planned it that way. But then he finally agreed. He met me in front of the warehouse a little before 9. I set the 2 fires up on the 3rd floor, and then we went down to the 1st. And I started another one. Oh, all right, come on. No, wait. Let's watch for a while.
You crazy?
watch it, this place is going to go up like a tinderbox. We'll have to get caught.
I said I wanted to watch it for a while. I'm going to draw a picture.
You're nuts. Now, come on, Andy. Let's get out of here.
Oh, you go ahead, Needles. I'll be along in a little while.
Come on, Andy. Come on. Don't be crazy.
I'm glad I brought my pencil and pad with me. I think this is going to be a beautiful one. And it was. It had wonderful colors. The flames, they were all around me now. Not an awful lot of smoke here inside the building. Just flames. Beautiful colors, just beautiful. Reds, deep reds, and blues, and greens, and yellows. I had a feeling this was going to be my best picture, my very best. The most beautiful flames I'd ever seen. Thrilling. And the picture now, just one big flame.
Suspense, in which Mr. Tony Barrett starred in tonight's presentation of The Flame.